agreed to a 60-day ceasefire proposal to release hostages, but Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu dismissed it.
In Sudan, the Rapid Support Forces militia launched a large-scale assault on El Fasher, the capital of North Darfur, which has been under siege since April 2024. Joseph Eckerson reports.
The attack targeted the city and the nearby Abu Shouk displacement camp, worsening the ongoing civil war. The United Nations expressed alarm over the violence, warning of logistical challenges.
President Donald Trump pledged to issue an executive order to end mail-in voting and voting machines before the 2026 midterm elections.
The move is expected to favor the Republican Party and face legal challenges from several states.
Wilmington, North Carolina. A car crashed into a veterinary clinic, rupturing a gas line and causing an explosion.
The opinions expressed on this program are those of the host or guest and should not be interpreted as statement of fact. Fact-checking and corrections are encouraged.
Fact-checking.
We got a cup of coffee in here, please.
Checkers of backing. These mother-backing checkers.
Damn good coffee and hot.
Wow. I'm
seeing my dog is your mind's best friend.
Bad things going on back there. Really?
My dog is your mind's best friend.
What the back?
Wake up, America. You've got a dog that needs walking. That's right, sunshine. Just put on a big pot of strong coffee and get ready to type your little hate mail with your opinions about kumbaya and flat earth insanity. Stand-up comedy? You want stand-up comedy? Well, we've got sit-down comedy. It's time for Coffee with a Dog. You make me laugh.
Not so much today, especially. I mean, the yucks. The yucks will be few and far between, I think. Maybe. Maybe not. You never know. You know? I don't. Why would I know? Honey ham. Honey ham. I'm panicking. Give me, I'm a panicker. Good morning, folks. It feels like a hump day, Wednesday, August 20th, 2025. Hope you're having a wonderful morning. It definitely feels like fall all this week, but that's probably because the storm is out there or whatever. Here, it's very fall-like, very overcast, a little bit chilly. And listen, I'm not complaining. After a summer that seemed very hot from, I don't know, June 1st up until yesterday or the day before, I actually take the cool weather, and that's not me speaking. I don't know. It must be possessed by demons, because that's not me. I would never say that. So yeah, the insanity goes on in America. Today we have two guests lined up. One of them is from Perth, Australia. Am I saying that right, or is it Perth? Perth or Perth? He's a little bit lispy today, isn't he? Somebody called me lispy the other day in one of the. It was an anti-Trump clip that I put up, and Trump guys called me a lispy fool or something. But I'm feeling a little lispy today. I feel like I'm getting I don't know. Maybe it's just all imaginary. Anyway, the first guest will be Allison Devine, scheduled anyway. Maybe, I don't know. I'm thinking maybe we will get some time zone issues. So she's in Perth or Perth, Perth, Australia. She wants to talk about women beater, men, encouraging men to speak up about domestic violence, guys who beat their wives. You know what? 10 million. Wow, that's a lot. 10 million guys who beat their wives have in common. She didn't know when to shut up. Just that's a joke. Now, I would never encourage such a thing. I've never hit a woman in my life. That's not true. I'm defensively, I've been hit by women. Let me just say that. I've been punched in the face by women. No, it's not what you think. My wife. And just because I wasn't giving her the response she wanted. It's a whole. But I'm not a violent man when it comes to women. I would never encourage men to hit a woman, a man to hit a woman in any way. Even, I'm going to get into the whole political thing about men and women sports now. But what is this? People trying to send me money. Don't send me money. I'm sick of your money. Keep your $14.5 million. I don't need it. I don't want it. So Allison is I guess a counselor. She's a domestic violence advocate. No, you can't be a family and domestic violence advocate. That sounds like you're advocating for family and domestic violence. That's a weird way to put it, I think. But she's a counselor of sorts, I guess. We'll talk to her if and when she gets here. And then the second hour, Gloria J. Brown Marshall. Did I say Brownie? Just shoot me. She is the author, a civil rights attorney, and author of A History of Protests in America. So that should be an interesting stuff because protests, I don't know, feels like, what good is it? What good is it? What a protest. You go out there and protest, nothing because the people who can make a difference don't give a damn if you protest. And they'll just rather shoot you. Just shoot you for protesting. How dare you speak up against us? And this attitude, man, I don't know if you saw it yesterday. Caroline Levitt. She's going to hell, by the way. She's the evil person. Just an evil, ugly person. We stalled on the radio over there. I'm sorry about that. Why didn't somebody say something? She was asked about why Trump didn't take a phone call with Putin with all the European leaders in the room. And her response is just to say, that's a disrespectful comment. Only the New York Times would ask that question. No, it's a legitimate question, you fucking evil cunt. Maybe I should ease up on the evil cunt stuff. Because Sherry Jacobus, you know Sherry Jacobus? She was on this program. She is a former Republican strategist, and you'll see a lot of these former Republican strategists now who are against the current Republican Party. Why? I wonder why. What happened? What changed? Oh, well. Anyway, she had her life threatened by Donald Trump in 2016. Literally, we're coming to get you. We know where you live, blah, blah, blah. She was on this program. Lovely lady. I agree. I was friends with her on social media, followed her on social media. And then I noticed I haven't seen her in a while. And then I looked her up. It turned out she blocked me. Blocked me. What did I do? It's not like I was ever disrespectful to her. I think she just got turned off by my vulgarity and my overuse of the word cunt, especially on social media, especially on Twitter, towards people like Caroline Levitt and people like that. I don't know that to be the case, but I can't imagine any other reason she would block me. It's not like I was ever disrespectful to her, and I rarely disagreed with her on a lot of politics and stuff. So I'm not going to ask her what that's about, because that's like being a stalker. If I go, hey, why did you block me? But I can't imagine any other reason other than I'm a vulgar cock. I'm a vulgar cock. Or she doesn't like me using the word cunt. Yeah, women, that's a hot topic for women. Women don't like the word cunt. Anyway, good morning, Ian. Ian is he's over on Twitch. We are not on Rumble. For some reason, maybe I screwed up on the Rumble Connect this morning, and I just don't have the energy to fix it right now. Maybe at some point we'll, like midstream, fix it for the people on Rumble. But they're all cocks and cunts themselves, aren't they? If you're on Rumble, if you're, you pick one. Are you a cock or you cunt? Just maybe I should ease up on the vulgarity, shouldn't I? Anyway, So that's the show. We're going to talk about men beating up women and men protesting, and men and women protesting against any common sense. Because listen, you go out there with a sign, you're just going to get shot. You're going to get shot, put in the back of a black van, and taken away. One last thing, Donald Trump is he doesn't like the Smithsonian teaching people about slavery. They want to erase as much as they say, "Oh, we can't take down statues or whatever." All these things we celebrate our history. No, anything that makes him feel guilty about the fucking Nazi cocksucker he is, he wants to erase from history. I had nothing to do with. I don't feel guilty about it. I feel ashamed that America had to be built on the back of slaves. But I had no part in that. If I were around in that, I would have been part of the resistance to that. I'm certain I would, because as much as people say, "Oh, slavery is in the Bible," I don't care. I don't read that book. Slavery is a bad thing. It's an evil imposition on people for whatever reasons you can imagine. You want to do that. It's never justified. Oh, but it's in the Bible. Well, then maybe burn that part of the Bible. I don't know. You're into burning books. Anyway, so I'm going to play a commercial. We'll say hello to GD. Maybe call him a cock or a cunt or something, and we'll move on to better topics. Let's see. You know what? Just to be vulgar one last time. One last time, he says. Let's use Tantally. You should go to Tantally and, just do it.
Steven to sit down. Really wants to get down. Stevie likes to get it on with a girl that's made of silicone. He goes to Tantally, click on link. He goes to Tantally, soft and pink. She comes without a head, but at least she'll never shit the bed. You need a fake rubber squeeze. Be like Stephen Ortiz. Move it up, it's so soft. Get you 10% off. He goes to Tantally. He goes to Tantally. He goes to Tantally. He goes to Tantally.
You know, I gotta see. I don't even know what time I gotta be places today. Oh yeah. Stevie's going to Tantally. He should be going to the bank. Did he get fired already? He got fired and now he's headed to the bank. Ladies and gentlemen, in the room with me right now are Mr. Cock and Cunt himself, GD Fenderson. Good morning, Mr. Cock. I mean, Mr. Cunt. Mr. Cock Cunt.
Good morning, America. MindDogTV.com. Do you have an ex who is just as destructive now as they were while they were still in your life? Come to MindDogTV.com and you can name a hurricane after them. Doesn't matter who they are, when it falls in the alphabet, give us $49.95 and we will name that hurricane after your ex.
That's an interesting take. That's a good thing. No, I mean, if you could name a star after somebody, why not name a hurricane or... let's start naming earthquakes after my wife.
All natural. We can name a natural disaster after your ex. Just in, we're naming natural disasters after your ex. Just for $49.95, go to minddogtv.com/merch and just fill out that little form. What are your exes called, and what do you want us to call your ex? And have a natural disaster named after that ex. Minddogtv.com. Enjoy this merch. Enjoy the support. Enjoy the suffering and support your local mercenaries.
Florence the Flood, Valerie the Volcano. I don't know. I'm out. I'm done already. That was as much energy as I have for that bit. Yeah.
Well, I had to make that up on the fly. I forgot to write something.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
I want to address what Big Bill says about. I don't have any. People blocking is a good thing. He's saying, what did he say about blocking is excessive here? He said, blocking is a little excessive. I started hiding my friends' posts who overdo it with political posts on propaganda. See, I don't think you could do that on Twitter though. That's a Facebook thing. You can't hide them on. I think you can mute them on Twitter. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't have any problem.
I thought on one of them you could like mute them for like 30 days or mute them for
snooze them, whatever. Yeah. I don't. I generally don't have a problem with people blocking me. I understand. I would block me too if I were them. But I would love Sherry. I thought we got along fine. I was very respectful, not very disrespectful. She's been on the program. We had a lovely chat. I say, Sarah the Sinkhole. My stepdaughter's named Sarah, and that one probably won't work around this house. Or I will probably, I will be called Matt the Mutilator. Oh no, Mutilated. But anyway, so Sherry, I just don't know why. I can't imagine why she blocked me that's why I'm coming up with. She must have saw me saying "cunt" too much. Now it turns women off. They don't like guys who say "cunt" too much or at all. If I were British, it would be like part of daily lexicon, right? They say it all the time. What would you? I'd like ham and eggs and cunt, or something, right? That's what they say. Anyway. You're excited to talk to somebody from Perth about beating your wife? What am I wearing? What the hell kind of thing is that? I'm wearing a shirt. What the fuck am I? What is he talking about? Steven is asking, what am I wearing? What, does it look like I'm wearing something weird?
I guess the shading. It looks the black shirt kind of has a shading that makes it look like it has green stripes. I guess
it's a blue shirt.
I said blue shirt. I said your blue shirt. Well, what do you think I said?
You said black shirt.
I don't think so. Play the tape.
Play the tape back. Looks like
that blue shirt you're wearing. Yeah, see, I just played it. That's what I said.
That looks like a scarf. All right. I just got excited by doing that, by the way. So yeah, I don't know how Allison found us, but she got a good audience because there are no women here, so she can talk about how men are the bad guys. Men, listen, I know there are bad guys. Men are bad guys, but I think to say to take the idea that men are the only ones responsible for domestic violence, I think that's probably a stretch a little bit. I know lots of, again, in this house, there's only one punch that's ever been thrown, and it was by my wife, and it landed right about here.
Okay, two questions. Was it a hard punch, and was that where she was aiming?
I think it was her hardest punch. Yes, it was where she was aiming, but it didn't land as a hard punch. It landed like, well, are you wearing mittens or something? It's very soft. It felt... that's all you got. I'll take 1,000 of those and never even flinch.
Like I really mean this, but in other words, calling your bluff. Like I'll punch you in the face if you look. I don't like striking people if it can be avoided. But I told my stepdaughter once if she ever lied to me again, I would slap her across the face.
Oh, see, that's domestic violence right there. You need to talk. We need.
And I said that out of anger. Oh. I said that out of anger, and I caught her in a lie. And then she looked at me, and I remembered what I said. So, but I didn't want to come off. I didn't want to lie to her because my thing is I don't lie to children. But I didn't want to slap her either. But so what I did is I pulled my hand back, and I did as hard as I could. But as a boxer, because I was a boxer, I could pull my punches. I swiped her cheek like that, so it looked like the wind, like blah, 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 blah. And it just so to scare her, so that she wouldn't. So she knew that I was serious, but so she wouldn't lie to me again. So that I kept my, I didn't do like what my mother
already
did.
Late, and so I don't think she's coming because I think it's a time zone issue. She'll probably show up at 10 o'clock, and we won't be able to talk to her because we have Dr. Brown. Is she a doctor? Dr. Gloria Brown? Is she a doctor, or am I just making that? No, she's just an attorney. All right, so she's not a doctor. Hey, listen, neither is Jill Biden. Oh, yes, she is. Anyway, what the hell am I saying? I don't know. The only woman I ever hit, and it wasn't even really a hit, It was the woman who stabbed me in the back when I was dragging her boyfriend off of her. And when she stabbed me with the knife, I kind of just put my arm up and I kind of hit her in the face with my elbow a little bit. But it wasn't intended to be a hit. It was a defensive action. Like, what the fuck just happened? And the elbow hit her and she went, whoa. Like, wow, sorry about that. But maybe you should consider not stabbing me in the back, because that's how I react when somebody stabs me in the back. My arms flail. It's a natural reaction. But other than that, I've never hit a woman. Wanted to, believe me. There's a part of me that several women I would have just loved to have slapped. But there's something that stops me every time. And hopefully I'll never get in that situation again. But it doesn't seem like she's going to be here anyway. So we're just wasting time talking about what bad guys are. Now, there are guys. When I was a young man, there were women who were attracted. They sought out guys who would hit them, and they knew they had an eye for it. And I wrote a song about it called "Hand Me Down," because the more I found out, talk to these women, the more it seemed like their father was abusive to their mother, and they kind of grew up with that. That means love, that they equate. Oh, well, he must really love her. Look, he's punching her in the face. I don't know if I would take that same message, but it did seem to be a hand-me-down situation. If there was domestic violence in the family, it tends to be generational stuff. Hand me down. Here you go. Take that bad thing and run with it. So
I know I was engaged to a woman who was egging me on to hit her. She says, you want to hit me, blah, 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 blah. Kept going. And I walked away from her. Actually, the argument started in the bedroom. And I walked away from her, and I walked downstairs, and she kept following me downstairs, egging me on, yelling at me, screaming at me, hitting me in the back of the head, hitting me in the back of the back, my shoulders. And I just kept walking away, and I kept walking away. And I got to the living room, and she said something, called me a name or something. I said, you want me to hit you? I'm not going to hit you. And she goes, like, why not? You're a pussy, you're a coward, you're this, you're that. And I'm like, no, I just don't do that. And then she went for the face. She went for the face. So I blocked it, and I picked her up, and I carried her upstairs. And then she starts yelling things. Now you're going to hit me or rape me, aren't you? And she just starts yelling things. I took her in the room, and I threw her on the bed, and I closed the bedroom door. Not in front. I left the room. I threw her in the bed, and I walked out the room, and I closed the bedroom door. And I didn't like close with us in there. No.
Yeah, it scares me right away just thinking about you closing the door.
No,
I'm sorry.
No, so I grew up in a very, very violent family.
Well,
and
you got that for you.
Yeah,
growing up stuff. I don't know how to accomplish that. I've yet to grow up.
And being the youngest, I got the punches rolled downhill. So
I have no idea how Allison even found this. I was like looking through emails, like, how did this woman get booked on the show from Perth, Australia? Like usually, and no publicist contact. She's on Calendly, but in the thing where it says, "Tell us a little bit about yourself so we can prepare for the interview," it just has "I." I think she either she thought she was typing and wasn't typing. I'm like, all of a sudden.
Have you ever done that? It's hit a button and then it changes the screen. Like I go to hit shift and I hit control and then the next letter. And then they say everything. What the fuck just happened?
I'm thinking that's what happened with her. She thought she typed out a paragraph or a full page about what we should know about her, and was on another tab or something and sent it to I don't know.
Right now, somebody's reading it going, "What? I've known her for 40 years. I've known all this. Why is she saying this to me?"
Yeah, right. So
but they don't let them know that like the other day somebody sent me a message about something. There's something they meant to send to their agent. I can't remember who it was, and they sent the message to me, and I said, "Did you mean this for me?" And they laughed. Ha 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 ha. You know, people do that laugh emoji.
Wasn't that me with the booking agent thing?
Yeah, it was like, that's my agent.
No, what was that about? I forget what. Carl. Now here's the deal.
Yes, an agent named Carl.
Carl. I asked him what happened to a certain venue that I used to love to play, and I know they love me. I got some great responses there, and he said, "I think there was an issue with you that I can't book you there anymore." It's like, well, that's news to me. And first of all, I'm shocked because they
He
love
says
me
he
there.
thinks. Does
Well,
he know? If he was representing you, wouldn't he know why you weren't invited back to a place?
the thing to do, and listen, I'm Carl. If you're listening, the professional thing to do is to call me up and tell me about the issue so I can explain it or at least know about it. And why would you continue booking me in other places if you thought there was a problem? But then he went and found a text message from them from 2 years ago that said I left a half hour early. And I like, you know me better than that. I would never. I always stay overtime. I did 2.5 hours. I was supposed to do an hour. I did 2.5 hours, but it was one of these assisted living places where you walk around, and they usually give you a list of people who want music and don't want music. That day there was no staff. They didn't care. They didn't know I was coming. There's no list for you to see. Just walk around. And I walked around, and most people were like, I don't want music. I don't want music. And so I went into the lounge, and I played for the lounge for a while. And then there were people outside on the bench, but they were residents, and I was playing for them. But I ended up doing 2.5 hours. But I didn't get a chance to even explain that. All the administrator knows is he clocked in at whatever time and left at two. It was a half hour. No, it was 2.5 hours. But you don't wait 2 years to tell me about that, because now at this time, this woman that well, the customer's always right. It's not about right or wrong. It's about addressing the issue and letting her know what was going on. She might not know at all, but I sent that to you instead of him. I was wondering why he wasn't getting back to me on that. And then
But see, but I was decent enough to let you know that, did you send this to the wrong person? Because if you're waiting for a response, if I get a phone call and they leave a message and I hear the message and I realize, especially if it's something important, I will call that person, doing a redial thing, call them back and say, "Hi, this is the world famous G.D. Fenderson, world famous certified forensic humorist. You dialed me by mistake. Somehow you got through my agent, through my staff, and got to my phone directly. And you left me a message. I believe you meant for someone else." And then they go, "I can't believe that you, the G.D. Fenderson, actually called me back personally." I said, "Yes, but if you please don't mind, don't save the number, because I'm a very private person. I'm so private that even though I'm world famous, no one knows who I am. So I like my privacy."
I can't help but feel a little, I don't know, disrespected or not disrespected. It's some devalued, because I didn't get any such. I got did you mean this for me? That's all I got. I didn't get it.
Yeah, but that's because that was a text.
Oh.
When I call them, that's different. When I call them, I want them to understand that they've had the privilege of hearing my voice.
Call me. Maybe it's late, but just call me. Call me and I'll be around. Why did I sing that to you? I don't know. Do you know? I don't know. Yesterday I did a old folks home. Old folks home. It's not what it is. It's a care center for elderly people. Anyway, it was like one of the most fun shows I've ever done. So something hit. I don't know. I had energy. Can you imagine this? Me with energy. And
Somebody's been drinking mushroom coffee.
No. Well, maybe. But more energy than I usually have, and I was just like putting on a show rather than just going there playing songs. I was actually interacting with people, and I dare I say even dancing a little. But it was, and at the end, man, what a response! Now I bet somebody's gonna send a text. Well, he left a half hour. No, I played in one room. I played 2 hours when I was only supposed to play one. Because they started playing early. And one of the aides there said, you're not supposed to start till 2:30. It's 2:00. Yeah, I know that. But we got a room full of people here. They saw me set up. Now they're like itching for me to. So I'll do the whole thing. Yeah. So I did. And it was a very fun thing. One of the more fun gigs for old people. Sorry. I've ever done. I have another one today for old people. I'm just trying to look up the time.
Wait a minute. You got another gig like that? And Leanne didn't schedule? Are you cheating on Leanne? Getting good gigs without her?
Oh, you know what? This one was booked. Well, there are times when I do get. I didn't say this isn't Well, maybe it's a decent paying
I,
gig.
I'm sorry. It feels to me like you're cheating on Leanne. You have another good luck charm other than
I
her.
would never cheat on Leanne.
That sounds like you are. I mean, it
I
sounds like
would never.
sounds like we have the audio and video evidence right here.
I would never. I would never. Never ever. What is this? Play on the porch. What the hell are you doing? Oh, that's the porch thing. Yeah, I never got back to those people about the porch.
I think, if I'm reading this right, Sunshine believes you got up on the wrong side of the bed. Well, no, asking if you got up on the wrong side of the bed. I just explained to her that you do not have a right side of the bed to get up on. You don't have a right side of the bed. It's like, you know.
I got up on the wrong side of the floor because I don't
He
know.
got up he got up from the top side of the floor. He's usually under it.
I often fall off the bed. This is a thing. I roll over just a little bit too much, and whoa! And I don't know. My wife, like more than 5 years, 10 years ago at least, she got us this bed that is. You got to climb up into it. It's like 6 foot off the ground. So when you fall off the bed, it's a fall. It's like you wake up from one of those dreams where you're falling off a mountain. It's like, oh, boom, and you land on your face. And this is why my face looks like this, because I routinely land on my face on a wooden floor. So it's no fun. I don't know why we have a bed that you have to climb up. It's like you need a ladder at this point.
Maybe she got it like that because of the storage underneath. Does she store stuff underneath of it?
No.
Oh, because I was thinking, because what do they call captain's beds that are kind of high, and they have like these drawers underneath that you pull out and you can
I
store
don't think
stuff
they would.
in.
Yeah, no. We have those in another room, but I don't think I don't know. No,
Maybe she thought, or maybe because before they got this this soft mattress technology, if you wanted a soft mattress, you had to pretty much get like an extra thick mattress, so that so the coils could be like, I don't know what it is, what happens underneath of the mattress or what happens inside of it. But I know, like, I have a mattress that's extra thick, and it has the coil section, and then it has like this marshmallow section on top, or on top and bottom, so you can flip the mattress over and still have the softness.
Yucks up,
Supposedly.
yucks up. I love the content you. No, I'm not even gonna read that. Yucks up, yo, yucks up. What is XUP?
Oh, that's sup. Like, what's up? Sup. Or the X could be hug, like, yo, hug up.
Hug up.
Or is that hug or kisses? No, it's just kiss. I think X is kiss and O is hug.
Fine.
Like hug, this like hug and kiss, like, so maybe it's yo, kiss up. Maybe that's it.
All right. You know what I have to do? I have to
kiss up.
No, well, in a way, I have to wish a very happy birthday to my favorite author of all time, Jennifer Ann Gordon. Jennifer, and I don't know why she's not coming. She didn't block me, and I'm not too vulgar for her. Jennifer is a author who writes horror mystery, horror romance. Women who fall in love with ghosts and vampires and this kind of stuff. She's one of the first authors I ever interviewed, and she's just she's a ballroom dancer. She teaches ballroom dancing, but she's just a lovely person. She hasn't been on the morning show in a while. I know she promised to be on the morning show, but we gotta get her back. It's her birthday. I have to say happy birthday, Jennifer. Wishing you a very happy birthday, and many, 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 many more. My favorite.
Now, is ballroom dancing kind of like, is that dancing for men who do man spreading?
I don't know. Ballroom dancing is like that stupid old. I'm sorry. She's my favorite author of all time, and I'm putting down what she does. Well, it's all, It's think of the 1800s or something. That kind of, I don't know. Ballroom dancing. You got to women wear these big skirts that are like.
Yeah, because when you look at the skirts, it looks like they have all the ballroom, and the guys are wearing these tight pants.
Right, guys have no ballroom. But I'm not much of a dancer to begin with. I'm more of a let's lean on the wall and make fun of people dancing type of guy. she teaches that. I don't know if she's still teaching that. But happy birthday, Jennifer. That's all I'm trying to say. Please do come back on the show soon. She's a wonderful author.
I have a question for you, Matt. I thought of this yesterday by accident. I was listening to an album and I thought, man, this is one of my favorite debut albums of a band of all time. Do you have a favorite debut album? You know, like almost every band, if they have a second album, they have a first album, their debut album.
There's
Do
only
you have
one.
do you have a favorite debut album of a band?
Absolutely. I mean, I don't even have to think about that. Boston, because their second album sucked. They only really had one good album. So by far, that's their best album. Is their first album. So that's
that was on my list too. I think I thought of that like third. That was like the third album I thought of. But my problem is quite often I don't know what their debut albums are, because quite often I don't hear about a band until they've done like four. You know, like Crack the Sky. They were doing their second album when I found out about their first one.
Yeah.
And like Ultravox, they were like on their third album or something before I found out that they were even a band. And I found their first album in the cut section. You know, remember when record stores used to have the cut section for like $1? That's how I found out about Ultravox. You know, and that's one of my favorite debut albums, you know, for a band. One of my
trying
favorites.
to think of other first albums that Renaissance, the band Renaissance. I'm not sure if they had many albums, but their first album was good. I don't even know the name of the album, but I know I played it out.
Was it Yellow and Blue? No, I'm thinking something Jure. Oro Jure. Let me see.
I don't remember the name of the album. I just because they were weird to me. They were like they weren't.
Well, they were like Rush. They were like an artsy Rush, I think.
Artsy. I think the artsy was a term I was kind of trying to struggle to find. They were definitely. They had some classical influence to them, and the chick singer. So, but I don't. I should look that up whenever. I'm not going to look it up right now. What is this? Tired of streaming to zero? Well, on Kick, I really don't care. I mean, it seems like I'm streaming to zero even if I'm streaming to you, because you're not a real person, right? You're a bot. Alpha Dingo Fungo Chungo Mangalanga Ding. Is that your handle there? Just trying to think of other bands that had great first albums. I'm drawing a blank there. Boston came up immediately.
Wow. Okay. I said Azure. I said Oro Azure is Azure Dur, but that was like their 9th album.
Wow.
So, and that was the first album I knew of theirs. See, they had their first album.
They had 9 albums. Holy shit.
Oh my, yeah. They have albums up through 2013. According to this,
that first one back in the 70s when that.
The first album was in 1972. It was called Prologue.
Yeah, that's it. That's definitely it. See, I didn't remember that. But
see, I didn't find out about them until 1979 or actually it was 1980 when I found out about them, and it was Azure Dior, Blue and Gold, I think it was called.
There were some bands that came out that I liked them when they first came out, like the Knack. The Knack had an album, and they were blowing. That My Sharona was blowing up the airways, and then there was a Kill the Knack movement or something. Some guy in Rochester, some DJ in Rochester was trying to get them canceled. This is very early cancel culture. I don't know if the Knack even had a second album. Again,
I think they did. The problem was that one song of theirs. I think it was like a throwaway song. It was like they had extra room on the album, or extra room, and they said one more song or something. And he wrote that because he had a crush on some woman named Sharona. And so I want to know, did they ever hook up? I mean, if I was, you know.
You know what the problem with them was? People perceived them as arrogant because their publicist was comparing them to the Beatles right from the start. The new Beatles. This is like 1978, 1979 or something. And they were kind of not giving up on that. They were hyping them. And they even did their first album cover. If you look at the cover, it is strikingly similar to Meet the Beatles. It's like Get the Knack or something, but it's in black and white, just like the Beatles' first cover. And they thought, well, these guys are just taking themselves way too seriously as being the next Beatles. And They never recovered from that. People started hating them because of, oh, look at these guys. Who are they to call themselves the next Beatles or whatever? They weren't.
Now, the Knack, were they from the U.S. or were they from Britain?
I think they were from Boston.
Okay. I was just wondering because there's a TV show called The Knack and How They Get It. And I thought maybe if they were from Britain, it may have been an homage to
like
that.
a British television show, definitely.
It was. It was a British television show, The Knack and How to Get It.
Yeah.
I'm learning so much as these people die, as these old people die, and I've researched them to do obituaries for the Reverend. I learned so much about history of entertainment, and then I forget until it becomes like a trivia question.
I gotta find out now. Meatloaf, "Bat Out of Hell," was that his first album? Because if it was, that's the best one.
Oh, Meatloaf, I think it was.
"Bat Out of Hell" was fucking. Todd Rundgren produced that album. Jim Steinman wrote most of the stuff. That is, if that's a first album, but no wonder he didn't have much of a career or any follow up. Because how do you follow up with something like that? You can't. That writing was just amazing. Todd's production was amazing. All of it.
Yeah, that was their debut. That was Meatloaf's debut album.
But that's better than Boston. Then I'm changing my vote to Meatloaf.
77.
Meatloaf, yeah, best fucking debut album ever. But then the second album was like 15 years later or something, and it sucked. I would do anything for love, anything, but I won't do that.
I won't write a good album.
That was
I'll do anything for love, but write a good second album.
I don't know if you know that this was an ode to Diddy. I will do anything for love. I won't do that. No, keep no.
Now, if you had your choices, writing have your best album be your first album or an album like, let's say, your last album, whenever that is, go out, come in with a bang, go out with a bang. Which would you choose?
I choose to have a bang somewhere in there. It doesn't really matter. I've never had a bang. I'm still waiting.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. If you had a choice, if you had a bang, would you want it to be come in with a bang or go out with a bang? I'd rather go out with a bang.
I think I'd probably rather go out with a bang. Although you might not get a chance to go out with a bang if you didn't come in with a bang.
Well, I'm just saying, if you have a choice,
you came in with a milk dud, they'd be like, "No, fuck you, we don't care." Good.
Yeah, but a lot of bands come in with a milk dud, and they probably get like a second or third chance because of their contract. They have a second or third.
Name a really bad. Give me a bad first album, a terrible milk dud.
I'm having trouble remembering good first albums, but I'm going to Google.
Worst debut albums of all time.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
You generally don't get a second chance, do you? Ian would know. This is who we.
Okay. There was a band called, I think they're called $1 Billion Babies.
That sounds familiar.
I think, let's see. I'll just Google them. I will see $1 Billion Babies. Right, yeah.
You're watching Old Men Google. Thank you for tuning in. We'll go Old Men Googling 20 terrible debut albums by greatest artists listed by.
Okay, I'm sorry. $1 Billion Babies was the album by Alice Cooper. So the band was probably called $1 Million Babies. I'm gonna say band.
Wow. They got some pretty big stars listed in this 20 worst in the Rolling Stones. But Rolling Stones countdown stuff, generally, I think they suck at this. When they did 20 greatest singers in rock history. David Bowie's first album, David Bowie in 1967, never even heard it. I don't even know what's on it.
Okay.
Wonderwall Music by George Harrison. 1968. This was before the Beatles broke up. I didn't even know about this album. George Harrison, Wonderwall Music. I wonder if Oasis stole the title just from that album because they were Beatle wannabes. They still are Beatle wannabes.
Now, are you looking at the Rolling Stone list? 20 debut albums by great artists.
Yeah, Genesis, from Genesis to Revelation, 1969. I could see why nobody would want to buy that album. Elton John, Empty Sky was his first album, 1969. Don't know these albums. There's a reason I don't. I'm surprised these people got second chances. Obviously,
I can't imagine that Yes had a bad album.
Yes is 1969. I can imagine it didn't go over well.
Yeah, I can imagine it not going over well, but I can imagine it being a bad
Well,
album.
there were covers,
But
and you can imagine these are covers of like the Byrds, "I See You," and the Beatles, "Every Little Thing," which you could see. Yes, just
okay.
over murdering those fucking overdoing pop songs. You
And
know.
then goes the rest is a collection of shapeless pleasantries.
All right, now
that sounds like a girl I dated in high school.
this
She's
one
a
I'm gonna have to go
shapeless
fight the guy
pleasantry.
at Rolling Stone for over Warren Zevon wanted Dead or Alive. I'm sorry, that is not a shitty album. Go fuck yourself, Rolling Stone. You don't make me. I'm gonna get vulgar now. Billy Joel, Cold Spring Harbor. I was at Cold Spring Harbor when we were talking about the album the other day. I don't think that's a terrible album. I think Billy Joel had not yet found his sound or his band. As the first album, it doesn't sound like Billy Joel stuff. But I don't think it's a terrible album. I don't think it belongs in the top 20 worst debut albums. Uh, Thin Lizzy, 1971. What's on? Raygun is on that. Um, Return of the Farmer's Son. That's a good song too. I mean, so
To the formless and flaccid Clifton Grange Hotel. Huh.
Lou Reed, which is my people don't know that I am actually Lou Reed. Lou Reed's first album, 1970. I don't think Lou Reed. I mean, it didn't get any better from his awful debut album. Lou Reed was almost tone deaf. He was a terrible guitar player. I dig some of his lyrics, I have to say, but he was more of a poet who just like got heroined up and like picked up a guitar and learned two chords, and everything became a song. I don't know. Were you Lou Reed? Were you a fan at all?
I was not a fan of Lou Reed. I liked one of his songs, maybe two. Take a Walk on the Wild Side.
Yeah, Take a Walk on the Wild Side. That's his greatest hit, I guess.
Yeah, and I don't know if he had another song after that I liked. If he did, it was like probably written by David Bowie or something, or
Sweet Jane.
Eh.
Yeah, exactly. But it had an awful, not awful, a good. I was going to say awfully good, but awfully good is not. It makes no sense. The guitar intro on the live version of Sweet Jane was really good, but the song itself, standing on the corner, suitcase in my hand. I mean, yeah, whatever. Journey's first album, Journey in 1975. I wasn't. Listen, I know Journey has got some monster hits in the classic rock genre.
Yeah.
But I'm not.
Yeah, my wife, they had this one album where I think my wife just wore the needle straight to the vinyl, to the other side of the vinyl, to the rubber mat on the turntable.
Yeah. Johnny Cougar. Are you your favorite? I know you don't like Mellencamp, but when he was called Johnny
Can't
Cougar,
stand him. I didn't like him any name. Didn't matter what he called himself. Didn't like him. I didn't like him as Cougar. Didn't like him as Mellencamp. I didn't like him as Mellencamp Cougar.
Is his personality or the music? Because his personality, he's a dick. I mean,
it's both. It's his personality and his music. I just don't like it. It just there's only two bands that as soon as I hear them, I want to turn. No, there's probably more than two, but there are two that my wife knows I just like them so much that as soon as they come on the radio, she will reach over to change the channel, or she'll look at me and go, "Do you want to change the channel?"
Yeah.
And John Cougar Mellencamp is one, and Creedence Clearwater Revival is the other. I cannot take listening to either one of them.
Ian says Billy Joel's The Stranger was great, but that's not a debut album. I think The Stranger is one of the best albums. If I had to list, I don't know. It's tough to do this, but I don't know what my number would be if there were like my top 50 albums. Stranger would definitely be in there. Maybe even my top 20. Just well written and well put together as far as the songs all seem like they belong. I think Billy Joel's best writing is on that album. And I remember I was at the Guitar Study Center in upper east side of New York, and Paul Simon's brother ran Eddie Simon. He had like Paul Simon had a twin brother. I don't know if you know this about Paul Simon.
Yeah, see, and this is I'm sorry. This is what I was talking about when I said sometimes their first album deal is like a 3-album deal, and so the first one sucks, but they're like, okay, well, we got to do the other two. Prince.
Oh.
When it says when 19-year-old Minneapolis Wonderkin Prince earned a 3-album deal from Warner Brothers, he and his management somehow convinced the label to let him self-produce his debut. Yeah. And so
was that his best album too?
No, that was his worst. They say that was his first. They say his debut album was his worst album.
Well, but he blew up overnight because of that album. I mean, as far as
his first album is called For You. And I said, I never even heard of it. I
didn't hear of him until the MTV stuff started happening in 1980, 81 there. That first album was 1978. I didn't even know he existed then.
I didn't know he existed. This is the funny thing. I found out he existed because a friend of mine says, You ever heard of Prince? I went, no, because I was a black guitarist. They just assumed we all knew each other, I guess. So you heard of Prince? I'm like, no, I don't know who Prince is. They said, you got it. You can't believe the women he's fucking. That was what they said. It's like, it wasn't like they said, he's a great guitarist. They said, do you know Prince? Have you heard of Prince? You won't believe the women he's fucking. He's like 5'2" and he's got all these great women. And I'm like, okay. And then they talked about the way he dressed. The way he played guitar was like the fourth thing they mentioned to me. First it was like who he's fucking, the way he dresses, his voice, like, hey, and then his voice and hair, and then he was a good guitar player.
Janet Jackson is on the list. I wouldn't know about this. Janet Jackson was her self-titled first album. I don't know, about 1982, but she has one of the biggest albums of all time in that Rhythm Nation. Now, I was a mastering engineer for Duplication on that, and those orders didn't. I mean, for a year straight, it was we need another 100,000 Janet Jackson Rhythm Nations by tomorrow. Like, wow, really? That thing was just flying off the shelves. You never hear any of it anymore, right? I mean, if you look at music and the way radio, and even not even radio, but people who stream stuff still stream classic rock all the time. That Rhythm Nation album is kind of lost. It was like everywhere from 1992 until 1995, 96 or something. And then it just, nobody ever played it again. Everybody just, all right, that's enough of that. Why can't Tori read?
Right.
I don't know it. I don't even really know any of her work.
I remember when it came out only because of the title, but I don't remember any of her songs.
All right, Kid Rock.
I think everything.
Sandwiches for Breakfast, 1990. Listen, you can't say the worst Kid Rock album because they're all shit. I mean, it's like grading shit on a scale of 0 to 0. Which is the shittiest shit. Kid Rock is the shittiest shit. Blur, Leisure, 1991. I don't know that one. Ray Davies produced that now.
It's funny. Sunshine was trying to write Tom Petty and Dwight Yoakam, but I think she was writing Yoakam and she hit enter without realizing that it did autocorrect and it changed it. It changed it to Dwight You Pink instead of Dwight Yoakam.
Wow.
I don't know how it gets You Pink out of Yoakam.
Yeah. So the subject of this morning's conversation is men who beat their women and why they beat them. It's because they listen to Mobb Deep by Juvenile Hell, or that's the last album on this list of debut albums. I don't. I've never even heard of them. Did they have a career after that?
Oh, wow. Apollonia accuses Prince's estate of attempting to steal her name in new lawsuit.
Yeah. So when Allison Divine, if she comes on at 10 o'clock, you think I should just smack her? Say, yeah.
No, send her a note now letting her know that, she should reschedule because, or wait to see if the other guest shows up. If the other guest shows up, then send her a little note. So write the note now and don't hit send until the other guest shows up.
I should have put in the email, make sure we're in sync, because I even did say I'm not sure what time that is in Perth, Australia, 9:15 a.m. Eastern time. Probably around 11 o'clock at night on what? It's tomorrow night there or tonight. It's about to be Thursday morning in Perth, Australia. I think, right? Or am I wrong? I don't know. Who cares? She's not here. And so I don't even know how she found us, what made us think this would be a good pod. It is a good podcast because that whole fucking chat room is a bunch of women beating men, right? They're all wearing their giddy tees and they got a spaghetti stain right here and they're slapping a bitch right now.
Are you sure that's spaghetti and not lipstick or blood?
Could be blood. Could be blood. But anyway, so she's not helping them out, encouraging them to speak right now because she's not here. That's a shame. First no show in a while. I mean, we had plenty of non-guests for a week and a half or something, but this is the first no show in a while. I don't know how to take it.
I think the last no show we had. No, I was wrong. I'd be wrong. I was gonna say I think the last no show we had was Robert Urey, but he wasn't a no show. That's why he was
a show. Get off the show. I wasn't that bad to him, by the way. He overreacted to get. Listen, he was removed from the show not because he was being a dick like that other guy who was being a dick, Matthew something.
Matthew Sweet.
Yeah. Oh, he had a good first album. He was removed because his tech stuff. He didn't test his tech stuff out. He just showed up, and then I asked him questions, and he would just like sit there and go.
Now here's the funny thing about Robert Urey. Before Robert Urey, before the show thing, I was not seeing any of his stuff. No, I didn't see his stuff online. The only thing I was his Facebook page, and even then, I wasn't shown stuff unless I reacted to something. And they go say somebody responded to such and such. Right? No. I was a follower, so it would show me that stuff. But just his Facebook page. Since he's unfriended me and blocked me, YouTube has now found it necessary to show me his YouTube videos.
Wow.
It's like, okay, he's blocked me and unfriended me. Why would you show me his stuff now?
YouTube needs to have some kind of "I'm not interested in this, don't show me this anymore" kind of button. Some social media outlets have that. They don't. They should, because once you unsubscribe to something, that just makes them show it to you more. My favorite guest removal was Ron Kane. I don't remember how that went.
Well, I don't think he was a guest at the time you removed him. The two of you Ron is actually a co-host. And the two of you were discussing Flint, Michigan water issues. And if that is what Ian is referring to, if that's what Ian is referring to.
Yeah, that's the only removal from Ron, of Ron that in ever. And it wasn't so much about Flint, Michigan. It was about him claiming it was a conspiracy theory aimed at black people to cause it. And that's just not true. He was wrong. He was wrong about that. I've double, triple fact checked that completely. I'm not saying the white establishment in Flint, Michigan, loved black people. I'm just saying it wasn't a contrived, premeditated. Let's poison the black people. It was like, let's fix our pipes. Oh, we fucked up. Now that we know we fucked up, who are we going to fix? Well, we're going to start in the rich neighborhoods and then we'll work our way and eventually get around to the black neighborhoods. That's what it was. And so if there was any kind of racism, it was post-tense after they realized the new pipe system was not working for the community. They were fixing the black people's last. He made it, and he was adamant that it was contrived. We're just going to premeditate to put in bad pipes to poison the black people. Meanwhile, they were poisoning everybody at once. So he was wrong on that, but he was adamant he was right on that. And I just, no, that's not the way it went down. I've done this homework before. But yeah, I don't remember. It wasn't "get off my program, you dick. I'm glad you got ass raped in prison."
Well, no, because that would be, first of all, Ron had never been in prison. And
Right. Well, I say that to everybody.
and knowing Ron, anything he did probably would have been consensual. I can't imagine Ron doing something that he doesn't want to do.
Yeah, I just I throw that prison line at everybody now. That's my thing. The mailman brought me a certified letter yesterday, and I said, you know what? I'm glad you got ass raped in prison. Get off my porch, you dick. It's just.
And the certified letter was to let you know that you've inherited $1 million from your long lost aunt, who you didn't know you had, who apparently you inherited her mustache.
14.123 million to be exact. And here's what it says. Now, it says that she won the lottery, and 2 months later she got cancer and she's dying, and now she wants to give me some of that money. I'm like, hello, why would I want that fucking money? It gave you cancer. Don't try to fucking send your cancer to me that way. Keep your fucking cancerous money. I'll stay poor and suffering the old-fashioned way, dying one day at a time. Hey, homie, I'm not
one day at a time.
I'm not a homie. I don't care what Ron says, and that lube is it's for other things,
for medicinal purposes.
Yeah.
Sunshine typed Kenpo karate, and I'm not exactly sure why.
Kenpo.
That was one of the disciplines I used to spar. I had people who were I used to spar with people who were studying Kenpo karate.
You ever get into one of these arguments about what is the best martial arts? Oh my God, these people are just.
When I was back in the 70s, we used to have that argument, and it was only because of Bruce Lee. Once Bruce Lee died, nobody cared about other.
Well, there was that thing with Bruce Lee or Muhammad Ali who would win that fight, right?
And it would depend on the rules. If it was just all out brawl, I think Bruce Lee would win. And if they were just boxing, I think Ali might probably win it because he's got the reach. He had
but there's also Muhammad Ali had the greatest tolerance for pain of any human I've ever seen. He got his jaw broken by Ken Norton. Ken Norton was not a light hitter. He got his jaw broken in the first round and finished a 15-round fight.
Yeah,
getting punched in the face again by one of the biggest, strongest men on the planet. You think about that and you're like, how? I would have been crying, mommy.
Unless, and he said it hurt.
It hurt. He didn't have to say that. I kind of assumed it hurt, but how badly? I mean, just to get it broken in the first place hurts bad, but then to get having a broken jaw and having a heavyweight boxer punch you in that broken jaw for the next 45 minutes.
And the thing is, I think Ali, I think that was at the end of the fight where Ken Norton's face looked much worse than Ali's.
Yeah.
Right. And I said, my face is just swollen. Look at his face. Now, and look at his face.
Yeah. Where is this now? I'm lost. Do I have news to play? Nobody's talking about this hurricane. It's just me and you. Like, there really is no hurricane, right? They made the whole thing up. Is that?
Well, it's still too far away to people. Let's put it this way: it's only over not the Philippines, Puerto Rico, and we stopped caring about Puerto Rico a long time ago.
I thought it was over like the Carolinas by today because it's supposed to be here on the Northeast by Friday.
I was probably reading my weather report from 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Let me see.
Where is Erin when we need her? I know we don't really need her. I don't really want a hurricane here. I would like it to bypass me completely. But yeah, so I think it's going to head out to the sea, back out to the Atlantic by the time it gets up to here. I think I'm safe, but it's not just about me. Not everything. I don't know if you know this, but not everything's about me.
It says here USA Today, and that's within the hour. This is a post that's an hour old. Yeah, this post is 1 hour old. Hurricane Erin continues to spin in the Atlantic and is forecast to grow even larger, with weather conditions expected to deteriorate along the coast of North Carolina and forecasters urging caution against swimming at most East Coast beaches.
Yeah, it's too far out to kill my brother in in the western North Carolina, right? It's not even.
Yeah. Let's see. According to a 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time advisory from National Hurricane Center on August 20th, Aaron is located about 455 miles southeast of Cape Hatteras, North Carolina.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you know what? You can't kill my brother either. We've
He's like a cockroach.
Yeah,
you know, he can't. He may have like 9 types of cancer, and they're all fighting each other. That's why they can't get together to kill him.
Yeah,
you know?
there is. I think there is something about that where the cancers all killing each other, right?
Yeah, the cancer cells are killing anything, which means they're also killing cancer cells.
Yeah,
but so if you instill some kindness, that might kill him.
You know,
that expression came from somewhere. Killing him with kindness. It doesn't just make itself up.
I like killing him with cancer. It's a better expression.
Killing me
softly with cancer.
Yeah, see, of the 3 things that you kill people with, I think kindness is number 1. His song is number 2. And then the number 3 is, I guess, cancer. But can't think of any songs about killing you with cancer.
Flack? Are you trying to give me flack?
No, I'm just trying to think of songs that are used, the songs that mention methods of killing.
You're giving me flack. Roberta Flack, you were giving me flack. See, that's a little pun there on flackness.
Oh yeah. I would say I would have gotten if this were Flack History Month, I would have gotten it, but since
see that was a clever pun. Flack History Month. Write that down, okay?
Right.
Yeah. So nobody cares about. See, the thing about my brother-in-law, I was going to tell you this about him. He's a Trumper, and he's also got a Latina fetish. Like, I know this. He's like, first of all, his last wife, his second wife, was Puerto Rican. He's got a half Puerto Rican son, but he's always had a thing for Latina women. But he wants all these Latina. Now, Puerto Ricans are not getting deported back to America, which is Puerto Rico. But
no, they would get deported to Venezuela.
But I don't think it matters to him with his Latina fetish if they're Puerto Rican or Mexican or Colombian or whatever. Any kind of Latina is okay with.
Now, if that's the case, if he has a fetish for Latina women and he's dating one that's, let's say, not a citizen, and it doesn't matter if she's a citizen or not. If she gets caught up in the web and deported, is your brother the type of person who would fight to get her back, or would you be like, oh well, there's another Latino out there somewhere for me?
I don't think he gets any. I don't think he gets any. So, I mean, his second wife he met in AA. Does that tell you? I mean, come on.
People in AA, he could be like the funniest guy there.
Well, not only that. I mean, when people in rehab are there for a reason. They hit rock bottom. And so it's not a great dating. You don't go to AA to hook up and meet people, right?
Well, they don't recommend it. They don't recommend it. Matter of fact, they say if you're here, we recommend that you not date anybody, at least in AA, for at least was it like a year? There's some kind of secret society handshake and rules and regulations.
Yeah, and you know what? They call it AA, and our second guest is here, and I'm thrilled that she actually showed up because it's been a struggle for the first hour. I was expecting to talk about the men who need to learn to be encouraged to speak up about domestic violence. But we were going to talk about the history of protests in the United States of America, which is an equally compelling and very current topic, or it has some importance.
Absolutely, yeah. This I don't know. I think she wrote this book yesterday. I think she just saw all this that was going on. She goes, I can put this into perspective and just I can do this. I can bang this out. Yeah. And so I think she wrote this last week. I did. I'm pretty sure of it.
All right.
Because before you created the bucket,
right?
And I saw this on Sunday, I didn't even know about the book. So I'm convinced she wrote it just before you wrote the bucket for it.
let me put the link to where you can buy the book up first, because it's kind of a long link in the thing there. While I read her little intro here, my mom's name was Gloria, and it would be her. What is it?
Estefan is your mom?
Huh?
Gloria Estefan is your mom?
No. No. What did now talk about great debut albums? Miami Sign Machine, great debut album, right? Right? You admit that?
Yeah, it was.
Come on, baby. Let's do the conga. I know you can't stand it any longer.
you have leukemia in your lungs. The tuberculosis in your lungs.
Yeah. So my mom's name was Gloria, and today would be her 96th birthday. 96th.
Oh, but you didn't. Oh, I said, but you wish Jennifer a happy birthday, but not your.
My mom's dead. So she's not going to have a happy birthday. She's having a dead birthday. But
you don't know what it's like where she is. She can have like as much cake as she wants to eat and not have any calories.
All right. Gloria J. Brown Marshall is an American civil rights attorney, legal correspondent, author, and playwright, essayist, and racial justice activist. She's a professor of constitutional law. Well, she's going to teach us something today. We're going to learn stuff today, right? At CUNY's John Jay College of Criminal Justice, and previously taught African Studies at Vassar, and she's here now. If I could just get my mouse to click in the right place. Good morning, Professor. I keep wanting to say doctor, but Professor Brown Marshall.
Hi.
Thank you for being here. Oh, boy. Protest. I want to pull up the book and show people the book cover here. Let's see. Stop disappearing. A Protest History of the United States of America. I guess we can jump right to the spoiler here. Protests matter anymore because it doesn't seem like the people who are the target of protests care. They would just shoot people protesting down. We don't care what you have to say. Nice little signs, nice little chants you got there. Just kill them all, get rid of them all. This is the world we're living in now. Is protest even? Does protest a legitimate way of political recourse in 2025?
Yes, it's still a legitimate way of social change, but we also have to realize that next year is the 250th anniversary of the country, and that's based on the Declaration of Independence, which is a protest document. So when you start thinking about protests, it's thinking about the protests from back then. They did the same thing. Oh, what are you doing? We don't want to hear it. We're going to shoot you down. So, but then here we are. So if you start thinking about the 8-hour workday, the 8-hour workday was a law that was put in place in the 1800s. We didn't get it until the 1900s. Why? Because you can have it on paper, but it doesn't make it a reality until people protest and demand that certain rights be recognized. And if the rights aren't on paper, then you have to figure out what rights you want and then make the message clear, not just to those in the protest, but to those who are around listening and can be influenced by the protests. And I think that's the part that I've learned over this history that starts with the indigenous who are protesting the Europeans coming on their land and trying to strip them of their culture, to slave uprisings, to the labor union movements, to women's movements. What I've seen time and time again in my research, and this is not every protest, of course, is that there was a message and there was a point in which they wanted to change the power brokers, but also they had to change the people, influence the people who are watching the protests to make them do something too. And we haven't gotten to that point yet. We haven't gotten to where the influence is now going to affect other populations around the country who are directly implicated in what's going on. They have to be made to feel the pain. And I'll give you an example. And this is not an example of my book, but an example that I think is really great. And that is dolphins and tuna. There was a time, and you might remember, yes, when the dolphins were being caught in the tuna nets. And what did they do? They used protest first, and they started guilting people. You're killing little dolphins. Look at this dolphin. What are you doing eating this tuna? Until they started doing things with the nets that would change the way they caught the tuna so they wouldn't catch the dolphins as well. So there are ways in which people have protested either by selective buying. I'm not going to buy a particular tuna brand unless you change your ways, or by protesting economic economically and physically. There are many ways in which we protested, but the changes are all around us. We just forget them after we get it. We forget that we did this as a community, as a people.
I remember because I used to protest with the dolphins, except for I could only swim like 25 yards at the time, so I was not a very good protester. I'd be like, and then the dolphins had spent more time saving me than I did actually helping them.
Yeah, I was more on the other side, being the white devil that I am. I was all for the dolphin salad sandwich at the deli. It was amazing.
Well, it was a good thing the dolphins had enough people on their side.
If protest wasn't effective, then the people in power wouldn't have feared so much, and they wouldn't try to quench it.
If protest wasn't effective, you and I wouldn't be here, brother.
That's true.
That's true.
Yes, I mean, that's why I'm saying protests changed. And there was a time in which that mustache you're wearing, you remember that men had to be clean shaven. You couldn't have a beard. You couldn't have a mustache. I mean, there are so many small ways in which we have just protested the status quo into having dreads, like my brother has, that look just like that. Only here's a Wilder, but we protested it into society, and then we forget that it wasn't accepted when they first started doing it. And I think
my dreads are a sign of protest. I grew them out of protest, but I was only protesting against, and Matt's covering his head because he knows the rest of the story already. So, but when I was younger, I got tired of having short hair, and I wanted to be able to style it, so I just started to let it grow. And at one point, my mother says to me, "What are you going to do with that hair, boy?" And I said, "I don't know, Mom. I'm either going to do cornrows or dreads." And my mother says, "For God's sakes, let it be cornrows, because people with dreads don't bathe, they don't have jobs, and they don't, and she just goes on all these awful things, all these stereotypes about people with dreads, and they get high all the time." And so I said, "Well, that's it. I'm growing the dreads." So that way my mother knows at least one person with dreads who has a job, who bathes, who doesn't sit around getting high all the time. So I got the dreads, and my mother started introducing this. My son, he doesn't have a job. He gets high all the time. It's like, no. And instead of reshaping her opinion, she just reshaped what she thought of me.
I didn't know you ever had a period where you got high all the time. Now I kind of like you a little more.
I never got high all the time.
Oh, your mother just said that.
My mother just said that, yeah.
All right. But let me, I don't want to argue with you here because you are definitely more educated and know this subject better than me. But this idea about protest, the protest meant nothing if there wasn't something behind the protest. In other words, willingness to take action. Like you bring up the Declaration of Independence, there was an intent to stand up for the protest, even if it meant they came killing us or all this stuff. I think in today's world, we think of, what are we going to do about, we don't like what's happening in America. I know what I'll do. I'll mean tweet about it and then go back to my life and not do anything about it. So there doesn't seem to be any fortitude, any backbone behind any of the protests. There's no King's Day. Sure, we'll go out and walk with some signs, but then the next day we'll just go back to watching the news and tweet about it. And nobody is willing to fight. And I'm not like encouraging violence here, but if you're not willing to absorb violence for the cause, I think then protests are meaningless. Your take on what I just said.
Well, let me break down two things. The first one is the number of people who protest. It's rare to get more than, say, 10 to 20% on board. That's why the Montgomery bus boycott was so effective and so historic is because they actually got the complete Black community, 99% of the people there, to stop riding the buses in Montgomery, Alabama, which was the economic boycott. And that influenced the people in the middle, because you're not going to get some people on the far. They're just going to be who they are. You're not going to get certain lazy people. But what we have would be, if you get 15 to 20% of the people to actually move to do something, they don't have to all do the same thing. I think the other part you mentioned was violence, and violence has always been a part of protests. And unfortunately, from the very beginning, the first example we gave, the Declaration of Independence was seen as this insurgent document. And there was violence that ensued. We know the Revolutionary War. And then from there, we had every time. Basically, protests coming up, even the women's protests for suffragettes. The suffragettes who were protesting and around the White House during the time of Woodrow Wilson and other times, those women were arrested and they went on a hunger strike and were forcibly fed. Like they had their mouths pried open and had this gruel just to put down their throats to force them to stay alive during their hunger strike. So force has always been a part. It's not that violence didn't happen, it's the response to the violence was nonviolent. I think we get that a little twisted. And that's not in the DNA of Black people just to be nonviolent. It's this assumption that, you know, because of Dr. King, that everybody is nonviolent who's a person of color. And that's not true, especially African Americans. It's a philosophy that was taught. And I had a chance to go to Selma, Alabama for the 60th anniversary of the March Across the Edmund Pettus Bridge for voting rights. And I talked to the elders who were high school students back marching. And they actually took classes after school in high school. I don't know if I could have done that in high school on nonviolent philosophy. And the people who were young people who said, I can't be nonviolent, they did something else. So if people didn't, if they felt that if I get hit, I'm going to hit back, then they weren't the ones who were part of the march that was nonviolent and were arrested and said, I'm going to respond to violence with nonviolence. Those other people were always there who were responding to violence with violence. And they said, okay, then you make the sandwiches. You do something.
Well, I know in my house was divided between the Malcolm X sect and the Martin Luther King sect. I was a Martin Luther Kinger and my brother was a Malcolm Xer. And that divided us until, well, probably until our late 20s, early 30s, you know. But my brother misunderstood my nonviolence. My nonviolence was, I won't use violence to initiate, but I will use violence to protect. So if I was marching with someone and the police attacked someone else, that person I would protect. As a matter of fact, I protected my brother. And we didn't even like each other, but I protected my brother from the police. But even though I would not have, initiated it, I was like nonviolent up to a point.
Yeah, well, defensive violence is all, a different thing.
But these people were nonviolent no matter what.
Right.
But King was not always nonviolent. He learned nonviolent. He learned the nonviolent philosophy of Mahatma Gandhi through Bayard Rustin, who was a Quaker and Black and gay. Out gay in the 1950s and 60s. And he learned nonviolence from him. So King in the very beginning used to pack a gun. And then also when the nonviolent protesters stayed in the homes in Mississippi and Alabama and other places during this time period, the homeowners had guns. So the nonviolent protesters were nonviolent in their response, but the homeowners protecting them, as you did with other people, had the guns. So there was still the sense of protection, weaponry, violence. You're not going to sit back and just be harmed for no reason, and to actually have the courage to go. As bad as this now, we know this regime, I call them a regime, Donald Trump and others, because they call themselves dictators, and a dictator has a regime. So that's why I refer to them as a regime. So this regime will kill people. This country has been killing Black people since the very beginning for over 400 years, and other people of color, Native Americans, others, they've killed people. So this whole idea of, oh, they're going to kill us or they're going to hurt us, they've been killing and they've been hurting from this whole time period. The Vietnam War anti-war protesters were, Kent State and other places, they were hurt by law enforcement. So this idea of violence and protests has been there since the very beginning and will continue to be there. I don't want people to go out and be slaughtered. That's where strategy and tactics and a plan come in, because these people knew those sheriffs in Alabama and Mississippi and other places would hurt them. So they had a plan to reduce the level of confrontation that would end with violence. They knew it was always a possibility.
It's a very interesting take here, because earlier in the week we had a former White House correspondent on who was also the producer of Wolf Blitzer's Situation Room on CNN, and we were talking about what time, were there ever times that in his lifetime that were as bad as what we're seeing right now? And I know if you're in the MAGA world, you don't think that things are bad right now. Well, from my perspective, things are terrible in the United States right now. And he brought up the 1960s, which I kind of lived through, but I was a kid then. And I was thinking about Martin Luther King Jr. and now I'm not clear on this, and maybe you will affirm or set me straight on this, that he was talking about patience, and there were not a lot of people in the crowd who listening to him that were necessarily endorsing patience. They wanted change much faster, and he kept talking about patience. And I think it's hard to ask people to be patient when their world is burning around them. And so do I have that correct? Because you were talking about Black people being united in marches and stuff like this. The entire Black community was behind this, and now it doesn't seem, we seem to have far too many people of color supporting the MAGA movement against their own interests and all that stuff. Do I have that correct? First of all, the Martin Luther King.
The reason why the Montgomery bus boycott was historic was because it included 99% of the community. That doesn't happen all the time. When Martin Luther King was assassinated, that night before he gave the mountaintop speech, okay, he was trying to convince ministers then to stay on board with the movement. So he had done all these things, received the Nobel Prize and given his I Have a Dream speech and done all these things around the country, was internationally known. And here he was in this church in Memphis begging people to stay with the cause. So, patience is difficult when people believe, one, that the tactics or strategies in use are not effective or not happening quickly enough for them. I'll go back to something, and this is just not the Black people. When women gained the right to vote in 1920 with the passage of the 19th Amendment, the problem was the Equal Rights Amendment came up next. Okay, 2 years later, they wrote the Equal Rights Amendment. They thought it would be passed. Women were divided on it. And that's why up to this point, it's been so difficult. Women are, majority of the population, and yet can't pass this amendment because there's so many silos and divisions within the female population. So there's always going to be these divisions and ways in which people don't see eye to eye on something. And so that means that you have to figure out what's the commonality, what's the thread. And right now, you've got people protesting Gaza. You've got someone else protesting around the issue of immigration. You've got DEI. You've got fascism. And so we haven't gelled as far as what's the commonality that could bring us together so that you can have all these different people protesting, but they're protesting not so much in lockstep, but toward a common goal. And we haven't gotten there yet.
I'm kind of reminded of prohibition, because prohibition is one of those things that went both ways. Like alcohol was like everywhere, and then if I remember correctly, it was basically a women's movement that got prohibition started.
Yes.
And then I'm not exactly sure how it got unstarted. What made alcohol legal again? But
the Depression. Because
right.
Yes, when the stock market crashed, we needed a drink.
Right.
so it's like we got.
I gotta give credit to women to getting men to agree, because at that time men were even more dominant, powerful in legislation than they are now, and women got men to agree to give up drinking for
I'm going to tell you this. This is something we don't even talk about. And, the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments. The 13th Amendment, as you know, abolished slavery. The 14th Amendment gives citizenship, equal protection, due process, privileges, and immunities. The 15th Amendment gave Black men the right to vote. All of that was voted for by white men. So, when we start thinking about, going back to your point, that men, women got men to change their minds to support that legislation, these are all white men who voted for the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments. So we have to realize that even when we change the voting age, and got the Congress to change the voting age from 21 to 18. Those were people who were 21 and older who changed that to back down to 18. It wasn't the 18-year-olds who did it. So that's why I'm saying there are ways in which we can persuade through protests to get people to see. And what was the phrase back then? If we're old enough to fight, we're old enough to vote. That's when they said, if you're going to be drafting people at 18, they should be able to vote at 18. And so you got to come up with a messaging that can bring people together to understand. And right now, the messaging is not very good. We don't have any clear messaging. People, I'm mad. And just like you said, they go out on the weekends. You have these signs that sound very nice, cute, whatever, funny. But then what are they all saying? And I was in Dallas 2 weeks ago. And I was doing a book talk. So I'm on a book tour for a protest history of the United States. And two white women came up to me in Dallas and said, we're conservative Christian women. That's what they said to me, who support Donald Trump. And we don't understand why everybody is protesting. But we decided to come out here from the suburbs, to hear you because we want to understand, what are they so mad about? So, yes. And so that's what you say. Remember, the MAGA people are not thinking there's a problem. So then how do you get the message over that there's a problem to people like that who are actually willing to kind of hear what the problem is? Then what is the message?
The reason why I smile was because I was thinking to myself, they're asking the right person when they asked you, because they could have asked somebody else who was not quite so literate, and they go, well, why are you mad? And be like, because I'm mad, damn it. Why you think I'm mad? I'm mad because I'm mad. So at least you can articulate it without, because that's how it is on television. Quite often on television, if they want to show someone who's the worst representation of a good cause, and if they want to damage it.
You know what baffles me is there are a lot of people, and I hate to say Republicans because the Republican Party doesn't exist anymore. It's a party of Donald Trump. It's a Trumplican party, if you want to call it that or whatever. But so often on social media, I keep seeing you mentioned abolition. The Republican Party was behind that, but they still think that's the Republican Party. That there are people who use the 1865 Republican Party as a measuring stick for what the Republican Party is today, and still think the Republican Party is about civil rights and about equal rights and all this stuff. And it's like, when did this actually flip over? I don't know. I'd say probably around 1920 or so. But the idea that the Republican Party, as it is constituted today, is anything but anti-people. It's all about rich white people, and they deny that. And to see so many people of color getting on board with that, it's like, how can they be so oblivious to this? Is it because the propaganda is that strong? Is that Fox News and Newsmax is that strong in delivering the message that we're really looking out for minorities and people of color, when clearly they're building concentration camps and things like that? Do you have any understanding of why they won't let go of the historical context of the Republican Party being about abolition and all this stuff to where the Republican Party is today, and they still equate it with the Abraham Lincoln's Republican Party?
Well, you can make the same argument for Democrats, because it was the Dixiecrats, because the Republicans who then switched over to the racist side, who were pro-slavery, pro-Jim Crow, were in the Democratic Party, and we refer to them as Dixiecrats because they're not the Democrats we know of today either. And They were the ones who undermined voting rights. They were the ones who were in the southern states. That Fannie Lou Hamer was pointing out in her talk at the Democratic National Convention, talking about how they were preventing Black people from voting. It was the Democrats of the South doing that. And so with the need for discernment with both parties is so important. I go back again to women. It's like, why is it that women would not support women's issues? And I've actually, said, especially white women and Latinas. It's like, why are you not supporting women's issues when it's so affecting your life? And they usually support what their men tell them to support. and they'll come up with a rationalization for supporting what their men tell them to support. I had a past tense, a good friend who Black female, married to a Black man, 4 Black kids, going to church every day, MAGA. And when I asked her, yes, I asked her, why are you supporting him? How does this, align with your Christian values? We broke up. She couldn't articulate it. It's a feeling, and that's why some people say it's a cult. Because it's a feeling. It's not anything they can put down on paper. I had a student of mine say she was supporting Latina, saying she's supporting Donald Trump. This time, like maybe the fall of last year, going into the election because of the stock market. I asked her one simple question: do you have any stocks?
No. Yes.
No.
I get it.
It's good for the stock market. Do you have any stocks? Do you even follow the stock market? Do you know what the stock market is? So they come up with these things that don't have any real support. But as I said with these 2 women, you can't get the people who are already going to do this no matter what. Just like the friend of mine, and that was our last conversation. She got so flustered that I just asked her the question the same way I said it to you. But why do you support this person? How does this fit with your Christian values? They can't give an answer, especially for a man who's done all the things he's done. He wants to be the law and order president. He's a convicted felon. I mean, it doesn't make any logical sense. So we're not dealing with logic. And this is what I've learned, especially with a background in law, because we have a linear way of thinking, but I'm also an artist. And so because I'm an artist, I began my life as a playwright. And so because I have an artistic side too, when I see it's not following a linear path that's of logic, then I know it's emotion. And so then you have to think of what emotional message in protest can we have to get people who are not following the invasion of DC, but crime is going down. They're not going to follow that. So what is the emotional message that you have to do with the Dolphins? Now we go back to the Dolphins. It's like, and that's why our protest right now, going back to your first message, is not as effective as it can be, because we aren't thinking through the most effective uses of protests to reach the outside audience. Folks are just right now trying to get people to go protest. They're not looking at, okay, now once you go protest, what is it intended to do? Like, what is the goal? We haven't gotten there yet.
I think part of it also is a strategy from the people in power. And that is, if you hit us with so many things at one time, it's hard for us to pick one subject to focus on and say, okay, this is what's wrong, because they're hitting us with the violating our rights by even deporting people who are citizens. And then they're hitting us with trying to strip away our voting rights. Then they're hitting us with taking away reproductive rights. Then they're hitting us, with poisoning our air and our food and our water and giving companies carte blanche to do it, and removing protections. So they're hitting us with so much stuff at one time that it's going to be difficult for us to come up with a message other than stop the bastards, they're killing us,
But that's a good one. You know what? They had 4 years, actually more than 4, because they really started this after President Barack Obama's first term, during his term, because we have to talk about, and I do talk about in my book, that by 2045, this country is going to be majority people of color. That's what's the core here. That's what this is all about, creating an apartheid state so that these older white men can be in a hierarchy and they stay in positions of power no matter what the population change is.
Yeah.
That's what's happening here. And so they then have a goal to stay in power no matter the population change. So that means you've got to undermine, and African Americans, I mean, people, sound of my voice, you can think it one way or the other if you want to. Since Black men gained the right to vote in 1870, they have changed. We have changed the outcome of elections because we have a critical mass and we have a determination and a way of coalescing that can change the outcome of elections. Black people don't seem to get that. But they do. The conservatives do. They knew it from the 1800s. And that's why they had the grandfather clauses in the literacy test, poll taxes, and outright violence, because they know the power of the Black vote. And that's why voter suppression was necessary. Prison is necessary. And of course, they know the population change is going to be Latinos more than anybody else. That's why they started deportation. That's why they're undermining birthright citizenship. If you start thinking about what would you do if you knew this was going to happen, it scared you to death and you wanted to stay in power, then you can look at the checklist of all the things that are happening and understand why they're doing what they're doing and why they're doing it right now.
Yeah, a couple of things to that point. First of all, I think you're absolutely correct that they know that this is coming and they are afraid of it. But I have articulated, these are the same people who deny there's such a thing as white privilege. If you deny there's such a thing as white privilege, why are you so afraid of losing it? That's a way you'll lose friendships, just by bringing up that. Well, you're afraid of what you're calling white replacement, and you're afraid of that. But in the same, by the same token, you're saying white privilege doesn't exist. Well, why are you so afraid of that paradigm shifting and you becoming the minority? Then obviously you on some level back here, the truth lives back there, but you have such a strong denial muscle that it's just keeping it sublimated. But then you don't expose the truth with that easily in yourself and just say, you know what, I've been denying this, and maybe there is something to this whole idea of white privilege. So there's that part of it. But I don't think they see it at Black people changing their minds in that way right now. I think because they have evidence that Donald Trump gained more minority votes in his second attempt or third attempt. More people of color voted for him in his third run than did in either of the other. So they're thinking, well, maybe Black people and people and brown people and more women are coming to the side of the conservatives. It bolsters them at this point. I'm not sure that fear is found.
I think that there, for example, an older friend of mine who's African American said his two sisters voted for Trump, who are also older. They're retired. And they once again, they were saying, he's going to be good for the economy. He's going to be good for my pension. And plus, he can't hurt me. This is like, so in their minds, they feel like they are going to benefit. And so one thing that's happening, where I'm going to say a little family business. Okay, so JD, GD, don't get mad at me.
Please, I won't do that.
Okay, all right. There is a collective we. That's not a, yes, we talk within the community, we speak of we. I mean, it's not an individualistic thing, it's a collective. And yes, it's been chipped away over time, but there's still a collective where I can say we, and he knows what I'm talking about. So yeah. And that's the way we are and have been for a long time. But the individualist, pull yourself up by your own bootstraps kind of mentality is creeping in because we are human like everybody else. And so there's this self-serving part, and that people have been feeding off of that self-serving part and saying, well, we can figure out ways to make them think they don't have to be part of the collective, that they can do better by ourselves, then I think he can pick off people. And women, as I said from the very beginning, have not coalesced into this group that protests for things that are pro-female.
Yeah. Let me just interject this thought that I think we are living in a time where the propaganda is so strong, regardless of race or gender. The administration is so really adept at, or regime is so adept at propaganda that they can tell you have more money in your pocket and you will believe them even though your pocket is empty. And I think that
they didn't believe it when Biden was saying it, though.
Right. Biden wasn't as good at the propaganda. What I'm seeing, especially on social media now, because I don't watch television, but it is nonstop. They don't let anything, not the simplest thing, go by without trying to amplify it and saying, this is a positive, we're winning for you, even though if you fact check it, you're not winning for me. The tariffs is a perfect example. More money is they just keep saying more money is coming into the country. No, more money is being paid by corporations within this country towards the tariffs going into the coffers. But they're not charities. They're gonna pass this on to you. You're gonna feel it. But the administration is so good at painting this idea. Oh, look, we're taking money in from other countries. We're not. We're not. Hello, but they can just lie enough, lie often enough, lie loud enough, and they're really good at understanding the propaganda machine.
And that goes to the messaging. I mean, who we have people. This is something that I'm really concerned about. The people who were able to do so much in the anti-Vietnam War movement, in the civil rights movement, in the social justice, even the climate change movement. These are people who had great skills they were being paid for during the day. And they took those skills and they used them in the evenings and on the weekends. And I like the phrase weekend warrior. So you don't have to be a full-time activist. You don't have to be a full-time civil rights attorney, but you can give those skills to the cause in the evenings and on the weekends. That messaging, there are people who get paid lots of money to do messaging for corporations. We need those people to help with the propaganda. Where are they? Where are the people during the civil rights movement? Teachers who taught during the day, worked in the civil rights in the evenings and on the weekends. Where are the people who, instead of spending their time all day and then being on social media and complaining to their friends, why aren't they contributing their skills to the cause? Because they feel like they're going to sit back, like this is a reality show, and watch what's happening, and let's see how it all comes out. And they think it's not going to end up at the doorstep. And that's the weird part, because it's going to be bad. And when it gets to be so bad that they feel like they are forced in, that's, critical for all of us. So they're waiting to see how bad it's going to get before they even think about joining the fray.
See, now I've heard, I'll let you talk in 1 second, GD. I'm sorry. I just want to express this. Earlier in this conversation, I was thinking, this lady is an optimist. I can just hear the hope in her voice. And now, just to hear what you just said, make me think this lady is a pessimist. I could just hear the lack of hope in her voice. I'm not sure where to gauge it. Go ahead, GD. I'm sorry.
I was going to go back to when she was talking about we, I guess the way we talk. When I was growing up, the message that I was sent as a child was, if you're black, register as a Republican, vote as a Democrat. Register as a Republican to honor Lincoln and Eisenhower, but vote as a Democrat to honor FDR and the things he wanted to do. And that's what, so it's like register as a Republican, vote as a Democrat. That was what was instilled in me as a child. And
wow.
Now by the time I was 13, I was being noticed by Republicans, and I was like being targeted. And with the way they targeted me was letting me know that I was one of the good ones. And I wasn't like the rest of them. And one of the lines they were feeding me was about the welfare queens and stuff, and about them taking Social Security and stuff like that. Well, I was young enough. I mean, my father died when I was 8. So my mother began, and my father was a veteran. So my mother began to get benefits when I was 8 years old. And I was aware of that because I used to go to the mailbox and get the check. And I asked my mother, what are these checks for? And she explained it to me. So now they're telling me I'm one of the good ones, but those people collecting welfare and Social Security are bad. They were talking about my mother. So there was no way they were going to win me over. Even though my mother and I had like a strange relationship, she's still my mother. You don't come into my house. Okay, I can talk about my family. Don't you talk about my family. So I just wanted to bring up because you're talking about the we, and that's just the way it was when I was growing up.
Let's be clear here. Dr. Brown Marshall is not. She's a civil rights person and a constitutional expert. She's not a psychologist, and she's not going to heal your family wounds. I'm just going to say that.
I like to say I've got a JD, not an MD, but
yeah.
or masters in social work. But one thing that I want to go back to, something that you said about not being a pessimist and not being an optimist. What I'm bringing to the fore is that a protest history of the United States. I like to write books over centuries of time. So this is my 7th book. And most of my books are over centuries, because then I can see the arc of the country and how it goes forward and then retreats. And so if I may, I look at it this way. The United States of America, you have the United States, which has its own culture, its own thought, its own personality. And then you have America, which is, so if you look at it, America represented by the Statue of Liberty, give me your huddled masses, yearning to breathe free. You've got this liberty and justice for all in America. Then you have the United States, which is an empire builder, a crusher of souls, a capitalist mindset. And these are the two cultures in this country. And there's this dualism that's always at battle here. And so when we talk about the Declaration of Independence, it's like, oh, nobody even reads it. If you read it, you could see that it had a lot to do with, the conquest of Native Americans. But when you're talking about the Declaration of Independence, you're saying, oh, this is this great protest document to be free, for liberty and justice for all. But it's written in the presence of African Americans enslaved. It's written on the land that's been stolen from the Native Americans. And by 1798, around that time period, they've passed federal legislation as a country to crush protests from immigrants. So the immigrants who came over, they had to build this European-based country on somebody else's land, kidnapping people from Africa. And so when the other Europeans arrived and they said, well, there are certain things we want to say, they passed the Alien Enemies Act that said, and this is what they're using today, saying, well, if you're not a citizen and you protest, you can be deported. They started this in the late 1700s. So the country was new when they said, oh, we can protest, but you can't. So it goes back to classism. It goes back to ethnicity. All those things have always played a role in who's supposed to be able to protest, who can be acted against violently, who we're going to listen to, and why should you get anything else? You should just be grateful. And the propaganda of anybody who protests that you're a malcontent, that something's wrong with you. And so Draptomania, this is an actual word, Draptomania, D-R-A-P-E mania. And Draptomania, anybody who's listening right now, look it up. Draptomania is the mental illness that was considered that infected enslaved Africans who ran away to freedom.
Wow.
Yes, they were that. You're talking about propaganda. That's what I'm saying. Propaganda has always been there. So they had this propaganda that said that Draptomania, you can look it up, that it was in the 1800s.
Yeah, I have it right here.
It's a mental illness to want to be free, to want the same rights that everybody else has. Wow. That's so weird. But that goes to your propaganda idea that there's always been propaganda, and whether or not people bought into it, but it's been propaganda to always color the other side wrong and to make it appear as though what you're doing for the people you want on your side to be right and that they're benefiting. That's always there, but then you have to counter that propaganda. And I don't see the messaging that we need. We need to effectively get that messaging together to counter the propaganda that's out there. See, I agree with you wholeheartedly on unifying message and getting people to really get them to emotionally understand the situation that so many people are in that, because the person you talked about before, who was just interested in themselves, that is a typical Nazi attitude. Like, first they came for the Jews, but I'm not a Jew. I don't care about the Jews. I'm just, and it's never going to get to me. That whole idea of it's not going to get to me because I'm not one of those people who are being targeted now, but eventually you will be. But I think about this.
And you know, he was a Nazi supporter.
Yeah.
Yes, the person who wrote that poem supported, and that's why when you go back to people who are voting for this regime, the person who wrote that poem supported Adolf Hitler and the Nazis. And so when you think about how long it takes for that mindset to change, And so we need to understand that it's they've been working on this, they've been studying this, they've been looking for the weaknesses, they've come up with these plans and these strategies to attack in all these areas to throw everybody off. They had 4 years to do all this, and they had money to research it. They had all this in play, and we thought we were in the 2 steps forward, and now we're in the 1 step back. And because they did study it and figure out how to best bombard us with enough to undermine our progress and to keep us confused and off our goals. But sir, I have to, both of you, here's the other thing. You can't just protest against something. What are we for? And that to me is missing.
See, and I don't think it was missing. Maybe I was just focusing on the positive. In the Harris campaign, I didn't hear her talking about, all she said was we weren't going back, but I heard her talking about strictly good initiatives and proposals for things that would lift up the working class of America. But the messaging is she was just against Trump and all this stuff. No, she was talking about positive initiatives that somehow they didn't hear any of that. All they heard was we're not going back. Well, all she is negative against Trump. She doesn't have any ideas of her own. Nobody was listening to her, and I think that's part of how the propaganda machine has. And we're coming back to the point I was making. I've never been a fan of parties. I think both of the parties had this negative image, perception in people's minds. But without that organization of a party unifying and getting its message out and doing so, like the Republicans are very adept right now at just constantly messaging people, whatever, and the message becomes the truth, whether it's true or not. I think the Democratic Party failed Harris in her campaign. Of course, they didn't have a long time to do it. We can make excuses like that, but there was no unifying message of what she was really stood for. They come away with she stood for having men in women's bathrooms. Like, where did you hear that? When did she never said anything about, we need more men in women's bathrooms, but that's the message they came across. So the messaging, the unification of ideas and messaging is important, but by the same thing, if you kind of paint yourself as part of a party thing, that becomes a negative, and now you get cast in with everybody who's ever done, like GD was talking about, you identify as a part of this party because of this and that. They're just going to find the negative part of the party to attach to you. So it's kind of it's a catch-22. You got to be part of a unified, organized messaging. But at the minute you do that, you're attaching all the other baggage, the Dixiecrats.
Well, if I could, there's got to be a vision. You're right. It can't just be anti this. That works to a certain degree. But what is the unifying vision going forward? That way you can have lots of different people doing what they do from where they stand, but toward a certain vision. And I'll give this example very quickly, that the Voting Rights Act, we need voting rights. And so you had different people using that vision for voting rights to go forward from where they stood and where they were, and based on their own philosophies. So the church might go one way, the young people, the students may go another way, the civil rights organizations go, but they're going toward the need for voting rights. Right now, without that vision to march toward, we don't have to march in lockstep, but we have to march toward something. And so I think community power is going to have to be something that we're going to have to say, we want to have a diverse community. And somebody who's better with messaging than I am needs to come up with a message that's going to be the rallying cry for us to come around to go toward that, so that people who have broadcast stations can do it in their own way, that everybody does it in their own way to move toward that goal for 2045, because that's going to be the marker. 2045, even if you say it, don't say it, but just have it in the back of your mind. That's going to be the cutoff point. And some people have said it's almost moved to 2042, but at this point it's 2045. And the power of the people to make that change gave us what we have right now, for us to be here having this conversation.
Yeah, I'm sorry to have this. I'm sorry to have this outlook, but I think 2025 is 100th anniversary of the tanks rolling in on Berlin, and the end of the Third Reich. I think we are starting the Fourth Reich. So I'm looking at all these parallels. So when you say 2045, that's all I'm thinking about is the 100th anniversary of the end of the Reich. Maybe that means something for us. Maybe the end.
Yes.
It's just a terrible place
I
to be.
think so too. And just like our Supreme Court, which is a disaster right now overall because they're sycophants to Trump, the ultra conservatives there. But remember, the judgment on Nuremberg was not just for the soldiers; it was also for the judges.
Right.
So so there is going to be a reckoning of this. But as I said, it's going to be ugly, and some people think, and I'm fearful that it's going to be bloody. But it's gonna be a clash because they want what they want. And they feel their own existence depends on it. And we have not figured out that that's how bad it is. And that's how deep our opposition is in wanting the country to look the way they want it to look. And if we don't have a vision for the country that we can counter with that, more people are going to start fading over to the side of the bully because they feel that they can appease them. But you cannot appease a dictator. And you cannot appease these people.
Yeah.
No, I was reminded of a petting zoo thing, and I was at a petting zoo and they had this cage full of birds where you could walk in and the birds will land on your arms and stuff like that. You can feed the birds, and there's a sign outside that says if a bird shits on you, it's good luck. Now we know that's not true. But they know that in order for you pay an extra $5 to go in and be with the birds are chances are they're going to shit on you. And they don't want you to complain saying, I want this cleaned. How are you going to get this off of me? So the sign outside says, if that happens, it's good luck. So, and people go in and I'm watching people getting shit on. And if that happened in the street, the first thing they would be like, oh, come on. You know, as soon as they leave that, they're not going to think it's good luck again. It's just only good luck while that sign is nearby or something.
Well, that's a great example of premeditated, advanced conditioning for marketing purposes. But there was that old joke: if the bird is called a foo, the foo shits wear it. I'm sorry, it wasn't funny. It wasn't funny the first 1,000 times I heard it or told it, so why would it be there? Just a couple of questions, because the book, Protest History of the United States, is out now. Do you know who your demographic is? Are young people? Because that's, I feel like it's more important for young people. People like me are going to be dead by the time change comes along anyway. But the young people of America, and I'm somehow torn between thinking the young people are lost, and boy, these young people are really inspiring and really engaged and active. We have like half of the, I don't know what generation it is now, that have just tuned out and apathetic, and half of them are really engaged. And I don't know. I'm hopeful the ones who are really engaged and involved in a world that's going to be a better place are the ones who are going to win. But are those the people? You know, are young people reading your book? Because they're the most important.
I'm hoping that they are. I know when I have my book talks and events around, that is mainly people who are probably from 30s up. You know, sometimes it's, you know, I've had book talks where the people are, you know, in their 50s, 60s and going up. So I'm trying to figure out the best way to have the conversations with the young people. I did have an amazing conversation in Newark, New Jersey this past weekend. The youngest person in the room was 7. And I prided myself on the fact that he listened the entire time. I was amazed. He was like 7 years old. And so, but what I'm trying to do when it comes to this is to reach people where they are. So whatever audience I'm before at the time, is it the 2 conservative Christian Trumpers or, you know, a 7-year-old, but try to bring to them something from this research that can help them to better understand the situation they're in. And the books, for example, and the book bans and how to read. As like I said, reading could be protest if the books are banned. then have a reading group in your living room. You don't have to have something socially sanctioned or sanctioned by the government. You can, if you think that these kids aren't getting the books, then have the books in your living room and use your own living room as a little library that they can check it out for the books in your building, for the people in their building. There are ways in which we can do things. And I look at protests. I know people talked about it as people marching the street, but Rosa Parks not giving up her seat was protest. So if you have those two different types, and everything in between can be protest. I don't pay money and buy things where I'm not respected. So if I go to a store, if I go somewhere and they don't respect me for whatever reason, I don't give them my money anymore. If that means walking 2 blocks further or driving a little further, then that's what you have to do. And what I think is happening, I mentioned, okay, what if we protested the Super Bowl? What if we said ahead of time, started now, saying we're going to protest the Super Bowl? So all that money spent on commercials or whatever, we're not going to watch the Super Bowl. And I'm a Kansas City Chiefs fan. So, to say I'm not going to watch the Super Bowl, it's a big deal. And I've heard people go, I don't know if I can do that. So you have to look at the amount of sacrifice people are willing to do for anything. It's like, you're not going to watch a ball game, to in your living room, that you can do something else. So it's going to come down to what people are willing to give up in order to have a better society.
Yeah, I feel like we lost our backbone on it. And especially if you're on the other side, the Trump side, they were boycotting the NFL right from day one because of the guy who took a knee during I can't remember.
Kaepernick, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but then they were saying boycott, but they were all filling up the stadiums and watching it on TV all the time. They had no backbone to follow through. Bud Light, they were shooting cans up, but then getting drunk on Bud Light on the weekend. So we have a lot of that going on. I have one more question for you before I let you go, and this is not necessarily about protest. It's more about academia, which you are a part of. And do you feel like you personally and your profession are under attack? I feel like we are pro stupid, pro lack, pro uneducation. Do you feel like you are, and what you do is under attack?
I think so. What happened with Columbia University and Harvard, and for full disclosure, I was a fellow at Harvard in 2022 in the Harvard Kennedy School. But I'll say two things. I don't think Harvard should have tried to stand alone. This is a time period in which we have to build coalitions. We have to have allies. And so when we try to stand alone, and that's what's happening, you have the silo of labor over here and academics over here and students over there. And everybody thinks that they can hold out in their own little silo. And that's the problem. We're going to have to come together in some way, find that commonality of message. And yes, the intellectuals, and I'm going to say this, and I know I'm going to offend somebody, so I apologize in advance. You've got intellectuals leading the strategies, and these intellectuals, some have a fight in them, and some of them do not. They want to intellectualize everything. So everybody has a contribution to make. We have to be sure we know what contribution that we can make successfully. So just because somebody has a degree from an Ivy League school doesn't mean they should be in leadership if they don't have the fight in their gut. And, and I think that's.
I'm sorry, Chuck Schumer. Sorry. I'm sorry.
I mean, but I'm not anti-intellectual. I'm anti-ego. When people think just because they have name recognition that they should be leading something, or they think that, they have the money, they should be leading. Everybody has a place in the fight, in the struggle. But right now, the academic world is under assault because they're saying if you're going to school and you can't be guaranteed a job when you come out of or graduate, then you shouldn't be going to college. And that's not so this has really been not just anti-intellectualizing, but you have somebody who's heading the regime, and the people in his cabinet are people who are mad because they're not intellectuals and they know they're not. And they're now brought the bar down so low that anybody who's a friend of somebody can have a job leading, and they shouldn't be.
Yeah,
I would say this one last thing. The people have power. The First Amendment gives freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, but it also says we have the right to petition the government for a redress of grievance. And that's the last line of the First Amendment, to petition, to ask the government for a redress to fix grievance, our complaints. So we have a right to do this. And when we talk about the Constitution, we talk about our rights. We need to know what those rights are. And your democracy, if I can do a quick plug, is an animated series. It's free, no license to it, to learn about the Constitution. I won an Emmy for this, and it's produced by WHYY, and it's free. It's on YouTube. It's called Your Democracy, because they want to dumb us down so we don't even know what's in our Constitution. And we can use that same YouTube and other stations on social media to educate ourselves and not just to be entertained by cat videos. So Your Democracy, I think, is something, if people have a chance to do it, to look at that.
Thank you for that. I will find the link and put it in the description. Speaking of links in the description, the link to buy the book is kind of long there. You see it scrolling across the bottom. It is in the description to make it nice and easy for you. Just look below the video on YouTube and all the platforms that we're on, and the link is clickable, and you can go there and buy the book. I want to wish you good luck with the book, and I especially hope more young people will read it, but everybody should read it, and hopefully we'll. I'm more of a pessimist, more of a realistic towards pessimistic view that things have got to. We were talking a little bit about AA, and I think the country has got to hit rock bottom before it really wants to make a change towards the better, because I don't think we're there yet. I don't think people are feeling the pain enough yet to want to commit to a better America. So that's just a realistic, pessimistic, whatever view on it. But I do appreciate you being here and sharing your thoughts with us. And good luck with the book. Thank you very much.
And I just want to add that Sunshine in the governor's chat room says she loves your energy.
Oh, thank you.
Mine?
Oh, yes, Matt. Of course she loves your energy.
Yeah, and I commend all protesters. I commend the protesters for what they're doing, and power to the people.
Well, good luck, and thank you for being here. And please come back sometime. We appreciate your insights and your viewpoints, and so thank you for sharing them with us. Have a great day. Bye for now. GD, I have to say, that cough you got, it almost, it's probably just my ears, but it almost sounded like you said Chuck Schumer when you got that. Maybe you want to
It's a birth effect. It's a birth effect. Apparently my coughs have always sounded like, well, they didn't always sound like Chuck Schumer. It didn't always sound like Chuck Schumer. Like at one point, I think when I was in my 20s or 30s, my cough used to sound like my ex-wife, it just comes out like that. I don't know.
It's just odd because I don't think of Chuck Schumer as a intellectual at all. Yeah, I just think he's an opportunist who.
No, he is actually Chuck Schumer. Because when she said intellectual and shouldn't be in charge, Chuck Schumer knows the Senate rules like better than almost anybody there. Okay, Chuck Schumer and Mitch McConnell. Those two guys have so much knowledge. Yeah, he's still alive. Those two guys have so much institutional knowledge and so much knowledge of the way the Senate works. But in the case of Mitch McConnell, he has no shame. He knows what he's for and what he's trying to accomplish, and does not give a damn what he does to do it. But on the other hand, Chuck Schumer, has this fucking code almost, or I don't know what it is that he has, but backbone isn't it.
Writing strong letters, it seems to be his forte.
Very strongly
worded letters.
Yes. Now, Becky wrote Pelosi. Pelosi, another one, really fucking knows what she's doing, and if she didn't, the Republicans would not have worked so hard to try to get rid of her and demonize her. I mean, she is really fucking effective at her job. Really good, but Chuck Schumer does not have her spine. She has more balls than Chuck Schumer probably wishes he had. I mean, I don't know.
During the Obama administration, for all 8 years of it, I was not a big supporter of Nancy Pelosi. I've always respected her ability to thrive and survive in the political atmosphere, especially as a position of leadership when women weren't really having that position of leadership. But I feel like she was a big part of the problem with Obamacare, his signature legislation, being rushed through, and part of that whole party, we need to get something done and part of this is the systems problem, in that you only have 4 years to get elected again, and so you got to come up with you have to pass something really big to stand on. But I felt like Obamacare came from the best intentions, but was rushed through. They were panicking that they weren't going to get it done. I know it was caught up in a lot of fighting in the legislation and all that stuff, but they rushed it through to the point where Obama let the insurance companies write part of the bill, which, that's never going to be a good thing. But I think Pelosi was instrumental in, we got to pass it to find out what's in it, and saying a bunch of stupid stuff. At that point, I was not impressed with her. The minute Trump won, all of a sudden I became a much more appreciative of her abilities and her backbone in some of these things. So I don't know. The jury's still out on where my final judgment of Nancy Pelosi will be. But, the frame makes a big difference on how you perceive the picture. And in her case, the frame of the Obama administration, in my view, made her look not so flattering, and the frame of the Trump administration highlighted her and made her look more competent, more. I think you would admit that statement, we have to pass it to know what's in it, it sounds pretty stupid.
Yeah, I don't. She's made quite a few gaffes, and I'm saying gaffes only because sometimes she speaks the truth, and she didn't mean to speak the truth at the time. To say you have to pass it to know what's in it, that's very fucking true, because most Congress people don't read the fucking bills.
Yeah, no.
She probably read it, and she probably knew it front and back from top to bottom. And a lot of these other congressmen aren't. It's just like what was it? The big beautiful bill. Okay, that when it passed, all these Republicans are going well, I didn't know that it did this. I didn't know it did that. I didn't read the bill. I didn't. And they're finding out because they passed it that these things are in it.
What is I'm not even sure what Michael is saying here, and I don't know who this Michael is, but Declaration of Independence. I'm like December of Indiana.
That's funny. The way I read it too. I read it as December of Independence.
December of Indianapolis. Like, what the fuck? I'm thinking months and states. All right. There's so much for it. I'm not sure that Declaration of Independence gets abbreviated like that too much. But yeah, I was thinking about this the other day, that we have created a situation, because I was thinking about Obama, where Obama could not, and especially with his signature bill, he could never, and this is not on him. This is all this is the circumstance, the system that we've created. A president can't ever admit comfortably that something was a mistake or done less than perfect. And there were two mea culpas, but both of those guys, Reagan did one after he was elected for the second time because he didn't want to be impeached. He did a mea culpa about Iran-Contra. And then Bill Clinton did a mea culpa sort of after he was impeached by admitting it was wrong for him to say, I did not have sex with that woman, but he kind of apologize for that, somewhat of a mea culpa. But other than those two, I think it's almost.
I think Bush won. I think Bush won made a mea culpa, because remember when he was running against Reagan? No. Sorry, when he was running for president. No, when he was running for president, Bush one said, "Read my lips, no new taxes." Right. And then a couple of years in, he goes like, "Holy shit, we can't do this without new taxes."
Yeah, that was running against Clinton when he made that promise. Yeah, but that's not like a mea culpa. Like, I made a mistake in office, something I did was less than perfect. It didn't work out right, and we need to revise that. Presidents are not allowed to do that. I think it would be a good thing if they did it more often. And not in terms of just trying to save themselves from impeachment or any of that kind of stuff, but to say, the way if Obama would have said, coming out and everybody was against was supportive of getting rid of Gaddafi and regime change in Libya. The way we went about it might have been the wrong way in hindsight, looking at the fact that we supported people and gave them weapons, didn't get all those weapons back, and they used it against us. That might have been a wrong thing. If you could have been able to say that and sell it effectively as we will make sure that will never happen again, but it was a mistake, I think that would have been much better than the saying, oh, there was a protest about a videotape. Well, it wasn't even the people that we armed, and none of, I think that defensiveness. But again, I don't think the system will allow for a president to say, I made a mistake. And they are human. They're going to make mistakes. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
What is Michael saying? Nancy can raise money and Silicon Valley has money influence. That's true. Winners of elections are made because the opponent was weak. I don't know. Was Harris weak? I don't think she was.
I don't think Harris was weak. I think she... Here's the deal. I don't think she was weak only because she was saying, she was giving real solutions. Trump was not making any solutions. He had the veneer of strength by just, once in a while dropping an F-bomb or something, and standing there, leaning in and shit like that. But Trump was not strong. Maybe he wasn't a strong candidate. I think the media played the biggest part, and money. Media and money played the biggest part in Trump getting elected. His messaging,
I'm still not even sure he did, but I mean, conspiratorial stuff.
Well, I agree with you. I mean, especially since they have three cases, 3 lawsuits pending right now in the courts, where 3 districts Kamala Harris got 0 votes, literally 0 votes in 3 districts in Pennsylvania.
There's one in Rockland County that was in the news the other day. The idea that all the Democrats that were down ticket they either won or got significant number of votes. She got 0 votes in this upstate county in New York. I think it was Rockland, and she got, and that's just
not possible.
Beyond statistically, it's not possible that she got 0.
Yeah, it's not possible. If I were on the ballot, I would have gotten 1 vote, even if it was just mine. I would have gotten, or a cousin or somebody, I would have gotten at least 1 vote.
Right. You're telling me that the head of the Democratic Party in that county did not vote for the they voted for Trump? Give me but they voted for everybody down ticket?
Right. Yeah. So I'm convinced as well that but I've always been convinced that there was going to be some kind of hanky-panky, and it had to be like 1,000 little cuts. They couldn't just come all out and steal the election from, like, it. I was reading that at the same time I was trying to talk at this.
Don't ever try and read and talk at the same time.
No, that's just reading what you're talking about.
Right. What he was reading, for the folks on the radio and people who are not actually watching the screen, Michael, I don't know if Michael's new with us, said Trump won against 2 women. Yeah, the first woman had the highest unlikable ratings of any person, even more than Trump at the time. Hillary Clinton was that's an anomaly. Why the Democrats? They decided in 2008 when she lost the primary to Obama that she was going to be.
It was her turn.
Yeah,
right. Because even then, I think Obama had asked Biden, who was his vice president, not to run.
Yeah.
No, so that's.
Yeah. So
I think I remember what I was about to say. Like, damn it! Don't tell me. Damn it! I forgot again.
Something about.
I did. I remember what I was going to say.
Wow, I'm sure it was about your mom.
No, it was about your mom. No. Well, happy birthday! Happy belated birthday to Matt's mom. I should have said this while she was still alive, but no.
Getting a lot of people who at least say they watch the show and are fans of the show wanting to be on the show. I just got 2 of them in the last 5 minutes. And they're actually bringing up conversations that they claim. This is a whole switch where generally I would get publicists saying, oh, so-and-so would love to be on. And then you find out they don't know anything about the show. These people are actually naming conversations they've heard, and they think that makes them a good fit for the program. Things are changing around.
Are these conversations that they had with that we had while Ron was on the show, and that's why they think there's a good fit?
No, this one is about this morning. So they were engaged with Professor Brown. Marshall, yeah.
Brown Marshall,
as opposed to Black Marshals.
Yeah.
There's a new sheriff in town.
I should ask her if she has any connection to Ketanji Brown or Thurgood Marshall. I think if she had, she'd have put it in her credentials.
She probably would have said something like that.
I would have put it because I'm about to put it in my credentials, and I have no connections to either.
Yeah, this is a fair statement. Michael is saying Hillary started running for president in 1992 when Bill won. I think that's
true. That's why she went to New York to be a senator.
Yeah.
That was part of it.
Yeah. So I think she definitely always had it in her mind she was going to be the first woman president, and didn't work out because somebody named Dolly Madison took that spot 150 years before her. Or even more than that. So, yeah, anyway, I got to go to a gig. I guess we should wrap this up. I know you don't like wrapping it up too early, but
well, no. If you, I guess you're gonna play. How long is Propaganda? Is that like a 3-minute video? Is that 2:38? How long is it?
But it's 3:35 exactly. I think exactly. I think therefore I am exactly. You know what? I'll play Propaganda again if I can. Why not?
Yeah, but just wait 2 minutes to do it. That way we end at 11:30.
All right. Yeah, so I'm got another old folks home today. Now, the place I play, almost everybody plays with backing tracks, and I fucking hate that. So
right.
I'm going to just be doing my acoustic guitar stuff. It's not, they let them get up and dance, and it's really hard to kind of get them up and dancing, especially when they're 80 years old, to get them up and dancing with an acoustic guitar alone. But I'm going to do my best on that today. I just, yesterday, if it weren't for the fact that most of them were wheelchair bound, I would have had a room full of dancing people. But I think I'm up for the challenge. I'd rather be more musically authentic. I hate fucking playing back. It might as well be a karaoke show with me just holding a guitar then if I'm just going to play with backing tracks.
I just want to say something. Last night, Dylan did something that I think you would have loved, Matt. I think you would have loved it.
Who did?
Dylan. Last night I was in Dylan's workshop, his humor workshop, and he asked us to write a bit. He gave us a premise and wanted us to write something about it. And then we all critique it, or he critiques it. And so I went first, and he just starts getting into it. He goes like, "This is off the," and he just goes on and on and on. And then I don't react the way he wants me to. I think I say okay, and then so it gets harder and harsher, and goes like, and I'm like, all right, and then he goes, and even when you explained it, I'm thinking to myself, I'm bored. And he was really animated. And I said, okay. And I just smiled and said, okay. And then at the very end, he goes, GD, I have to commend you. He goes, you take criticism better than anybody I know.
Oh, I want to argue at that point with him. Get him on here just to argue with me about that. One thing you and Dylan have in common, and I don't even know if you know this about you and Dylan. Do you know this about you and Dylan? What
you have gray hair?
Well, that too. So that's the second thing you have in common. Dylan, and I know his mother passed recently, right? I think his mother passed recently, but he loved to talk about his mother. And I always attribute that to like a Jewish son thing. Jewish sons love to talk about their mother's influence on their life. But every conversation I've had with him, I've had 3 or 4 now, it always comes back to he's always like bringing up his mother's influence on his thoughts and his behaviors and how she influenced him. More than most people, and you have that too.
Well, but in my case, my mother was the only parent I had consistently from the age of 4 through until I was 55. Because like I said, I was raised by my grandparents until I was 4. Then I had my mom until she died until 2015 when she died. I don't even know how old I was.
2015. Oh.
Yeah, and my mother died New Year's Day, 2015.
Wow.
Yeah.
My mother died Thanksgiving Day, 2015.
Wow.
Yeah. She was going to cook lasagna that day.
I love lasagna. That is to me that is like the Thanksgiving dish. My wife and I have like turkey and stuff, so we compromise.
You don't even look Italian.
Oh, I don't have to look Italian. I bleed Italian.
All right.
Dressing.
2 minutes are up. I'm playing propaganda and then getting out of here. I got to go to a gig. You guys have a great day. We have one guest tomorrow. Jonathan, I forget his name. I'll look it up. Come on, go look it up. Anyway, in the meantime, maybe we'll be back on Rumble tomorrow. Have a great day, and let's listen to some propaganda. Hello? I said let's listen to some propaganda. Do I have to click the open button here, you mother? Come on. See this? See, I said there were going to be no technical issues.
Up to make America great again, but your thoughts and prayers are gonna have to wait again. Just 2 weeks and another 2 weeks and another 2 weeks, and every time he speaks, you shout "Say Al" and salute with a smile. But the leader of the cult was convicted at trial, and the message is constant, it's loud and it's clear. Just tell them that they're winning, they'll believe what they hear. The resistance lays down and cowers at the feet. A nature once was strong, now crumbles in defeat. Lies upon lies with deadness in their eyes. The truth is exposed, but still they deny. Surrendered identity, deaf, dumb, and blind. Reciting the mantras, controlling their minds. It's all propaganda. 24/7 film at 11. Propaganda. Creating the Aryan white man's heaven. Propaganda. Fooling with the nation, a stage assassination. Propaganda. Is it a riot or a peaceful demonstration? To crocodiles, the Fox News fascination with Nazi occupation. Yeah, fuck you, Jesse Waters, and Lauren Graham too. What? It's all propaganda. 24/7 film at 11. Propaganda. Creating the Aryan white man's heaven. Propaganda. Fooling with the nation, a stage assassination. Up in the morning to another pumping stance, a show about a deal while he's shitting in his pants, believing he's a golf pro who wins and never cheats, while living on the big back food veins out of his feet. You know that he raped children and that's okay with you. He even fucked his daughter and killed her mother too. He's father gone and Biden and morbidly obese. He lives chaos and conflict and says that he wants peace. He tells you how to feel and what you should express, and never trust the experts, the media, or press. It's propaganda. 24/7 film at 11. Propaganda. Creating the Aryan white man's heaven. Propaganda. Fooling with the nation, a stage assassination. Propaganda. Is it a riot or a peaceful demonstration? You listening, bro? Full transparency, right? Making bank off the office. And Joe Rogan can suck my dick too. Yeah! It's all propaganda. 24/7 film at 11. Propaganda. Create the Aryan white man's heaven. Propaganda. Fooling with the nation, a stage assassination. Propaganda. Is it a riot or a peaceful demonstration? You're listening, bro. Full transparency, right?